background on Liminal itself for some of the new audience members that might not be familiar.
What's up, Jack?
What's going on? Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we've had you guys on. I know probably what it was once or
October?
twice before. Yeah.
November? Do you remember when it was, Jack?
October.
Yeah, October probably.
Yeah, that sounds about right. We were last time we were on, we were just about to like launch on test flight, I think, like just pre App Store. So it would have been around then, I'm pretty sure.
Got it. Well, I mean, look, glad to have you back on the show. So for the new audience members here, let's just get a little bit of background on Liminal and as far as what you guys are building, and we can kind of work our way up to where we are now.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think last time I was on, so if there's any repeat listeners, we were talking about building this basically neobank on chain. Our whole engineering team has come from a company called Thought Machine, who builds core banking systems for loads of tier 1 banks like Standard Chartered and JP Morgan, and it's too many to name. So we know how to build banks, and now we're building one on chain. So stablecoins are the form of money, and the blockchain is the ledger. And I think last time we spoke, it was just more about like how we can plug stablecoins into different sort of payment schemes. So you can send money internationally around the world, and we're targeting sort of international people, global citizens, like international students and digital nomads and people like that. But I think that the development since then, there's probably like 4 things to touch on. One is, like I said, last time we were on, just about to go into test flight. Now we're just about to get onto the App Store and the Google Play Store. So those submissions are in. We're just in this review process, which for any kind of a financial app is there's a lot of back and forth. But that will be done imminently. And the sort of little angle here is that any holders are going to get priority access. So if you don't have a bag, you should grab it now if you want to be first onboarded.
How many tokens do you have to have? Is there like a minimum?
I think the way we'll do it is like ranked ordering. So like whoever's got the most, we'll get them on first, and then like work our way down. So we can kind of phase in control the flow a bit more into the onboarding and make sure everything's looking good.
Yeah. To confirm, so yeah, you start with a neobank. Did you, in your preamble there, did you pivot to focusing on stablecoin cash, or are you still kind of consider a neobank? Like how do you describe the project now? Was there any pivot? And there might not have been, right? It might have been just kind of executing.
I think the same. Like we've still built out the full sort of banking functionality. So right now we have a savings account. We have cross-border transfers across 60 different countries. You can top up into your own virtual IBAN, which lands directly into stablecoins in your wallet. What we're looking at now is 2 things. One of them is tokenized stock trading. So directly from your stablecoins, being able to purchase tokenized equities. And that's in the dev environment at the moment. We're just kind of doing in the testing phase of that before we push it to prod. I think the plan there is more, let's get our foot through the door with Apple, with something light, and then we'll add these kind of features in next. But the next angle is NIM, which is our like AI agent. So every single user gets this sort of chat interface in the app. And what we're doing right now is building out the command line interface over our banking stack. So we have this whole payments, savings, soon tokenized stock trading. We're wrapping that all up into a CLI. And the reason for this is like the native language of an AI agent. So we're building like an execution environment in which the AI agent can build programs, like compose our CLI as the primitives of financial operations, and build that up into much more complex operations. Like imagine being able to talk to it and being like, I want to buy NVIDIA when it hits 180. And the agent just goes and writes a little program, sets it up in the sandbox environment, and executes it for you. And this is only really possible because stablecoins are the money of AI agents. So that's like the new like this. It's just an expansion on the vision. We've built this entire like banking stack, and now we're making it AI native.
What is the user experience there? Just to continue on from the CLI piece. So I have the app open on my phone. I think you just described, I talked to it, but what do I see on screen? Like, do I see it kind of going through and like, executing steps and then executing the trade, and then I get the graph and chart, and then I see my P&L, like, or is it, like command line interfaces? A lot of the AI agent, stuff we see with Claudebot, you're literally using command line, which is pretty brutal for people who don't know how to code. But just walk through, like, what does the user actually see and experience when they talk to their agent?
That is a terrible user experience. So all of our engineers use Claude Code, so we're all very much like happy on the command line running commands. But I guess we take the same philosophy as we've taken with stablecoins and the blockchain, and we want to abstract this from the user because we don't think our user needs to know, like, is it USDC, is it USDT, is it on Solana, is it on Arbitrum? And we take that same philosophy with the AI, which is why we're building it in a way where it runs the programs behind the scenes. All the user needs to see is like, what's the end result of this? What's this in like natural language? But there's a sort of a next layer you can build on top of that, which is like chats are just kind of boring, just block text, just a lot to read. Like if it was like, yeah, I'm going to buy NVIDIA at this price and it's going to do this and the chart's looking like this. So you can build these UI components that feed into the chat, and the conversation loop is able to surface these elements, whether that's a chart or whether that's the results of a web search, just to really make the user experience the same as you would expect from the sort of normie ChatGPT side.
So I guess the question that I had was, why did you guys choose to kind of put AI agents within the platform? Like, is the broader vision for you for users to be able to do even more than just like these simple trades, or do you see AI as being like a key component in a neobank? Like, how are you guys thinking about that? We know AI is disrupting many industries at this point.
Yeah, so this is a great question. I think you can look at it in like generationally. So if you look at the boomers, they got the desktop, which kind of organized their messy desks into a digital workspace. My generation, we got the phones, which is like an extension of you now. It's like you don't go anywhere without it. It's like a fifth limb, and that kind of takes the information and displays it quite nicely in a UI. But this next generation, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, these are people who are growing up with LLMs, and this will be like an extension of them. If you're a neobank that isn't building this AI layer on top of it, like you're just not building the future.
Interesting.
With and maybe through your research, like, are banks like Revolut and others going to have something similar to this, or do you think because the agents natively use stablecoins that more crypto native neobanks or applications like yourselves are just going to have an advantage because they, this is native to the tech stack you already build with?
I think it is much harder to build this on top of a traditional banking stack. So a lot of the times this, I think there's two reasons for this. There's the authentication mechanism. Like legacy payment systems are not set up for agents to execute on them. Like especially in Europe, you need to, there's something called, I won't go into the regulatory side of it, but you need to like be able to scan your like thumb or do a Face ID, like prove that you are a human, or get a OTP code or something like this in order to be authenticated into the payment system. And then the other side is cards. Every single card transaction incurs like a 50-cent flat fee, or the merchant is paying 3%. If the world is moving towards these agentic payment systems where microtransactions are really important, cards can't do it, and the traditional rails, it's really hard to authenticate an agent. Stablecoins are the money for AI.
Yeah. Chill, did you have a question there? Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit through like what's your users looking like. I know you mentioned that you guys have something going out for test flights. You have users lined up, or has there been kind of interest from your community and kind of using some of these new features? Like how have the user metrics been so far?
Yeah. So we're looking at, I think we're at like 150 users at the moment, but we're kind of limited by test flight and how many we could on board. We've still got a wait list that is growing and growing. We feel confident that we're at a stage now where we can release to the masses, get everyone off that wait list and start moving it more into our growth phase. So we've been focusing on retention first, like how can we make sure users consistently use the app, and how can we like stop the bucket from leaking, keep users coming back. And that's the reason why we're building out these kind of systems. But yeah, I guess stay tuned, because this is in Apple's hands. We're just basically waiting for the tick, but then we'll see those charts go up. And the other side is that's just on like daily active usage. But if you look at our payment volumes, I think this month we did like 70,000 real, which last month we were doing nowhere near that. So we're just trying to get these hockey stick graphs across all the metrics.
70K real. What currency is that? Sorry.
That's Brazil. Oh yeah, so our whole engineering team is in Brazil at the moment. Brazil's quite an interesting country. It's one of the only ones where Visa and MasterCard don't have a dominant presence. So everyone uses Pix here, which is it's an account-to-account payment system, and it's quite good because it's very easy for us as a stablecoin neobank to piggyback off the Pix network, much easier than it is to piggyback off Visa and MasterCard. So we're on the ground trying to make sure that via your Liminal app, like any shop you go to, if it's a street vendor, if you're buying like renting a car or a scooter, or just doing a weekly shop or buying stuff online, it's all PixPay. So the reason we've got all the engineers on the ground here is we're looking to integrate directly into these payment systems, so people here can just spend just as easily as with the traditional apps.
You mentioned 150 DAUs or users. Any metrics around those, like average balance, volumes? I don't know if like lifetime value is what you would track at this early stage, but any just kind of like key insights you think are showing signs of early traction?
As I was saying, we kind of track this on aggregate. So we're looking at there's a few key metrics like the off-ramping currency. You can hold like euros or dollars in the account, but then you can send it to 60 different countries. So we've seen Brazil have a big spike up to that 70,000 rate. I think that's about $20,000. But then we're seeing GBP is quite high, euros are quite high, but we're seeing the biggest spike in Brazil, which is why we've kind of focused our attention here. The savings balances, I can't remember that off the top of my head.
Yeah, no worries. It's just trying to, everyone obsesses over certain metrics on their product to see how things are going. So I just wondered if you had some similar metrics you're looking at.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Next month, this month is going to be even bigger. So that's our main focus.
Are you guys in the Pump Fund Building Public Hackathon?
We are, yes. That was another thing I wanted to talk about. Yeah, we are.
So
I think I've seen like 100 teams, I think, in it. 10 winners left to go.
Yeah, give us the rundown. I mean, just talk a little bit about what for those who don't know what the hackathon is, how it could benefit your business. But I'll talk about how you guys have been competing. I saw you've been doing these a day at the hackathon, these reviews. So yeah, walk us through.
Yeah. Well, I guess we launched on Pump Fund, and that's how we got to talk to you guys the first time. It all kind of stemmed from this. So building in public has been something that we've tried to commit to as much as possible. Sometimes a bit harder than hard to do consistently, but they launched this hackathon. I think I already build fairly in public, so it's just I tweet a bit more about it, then that seems quite good. But yeah, they'll do an investment into the company for the winners. There's not much information on it, to be honest. It was basically if you have a certain amount of supply, you're kind of eligible to apply, and then we got through, and now the plan is I build in public basically. So every day I try and stream on Pump Fund, show what we're building, and I like just giving a roundup of the places where we're getting stuck, or where the architecture has to change slightly, or just to.
Have you pitched to Tim Draper yet?
Not yet, but we are gearing up for our next fundraising round. So yeah,
maybe remind us. You had raised, I think, a small round already, and kind of what is that? Who are those investors, and then kind of what does this round look like?
So we have support from people like veterans across the crypto industry, from Gnosis Pay to Crypto.com, as well as some zero knowledge kind of privacy side of things, and traditional finance. We raised, I want to say, 300K overall, but then the revenue from Pump Fund has meant that we basically haven't even touched into that cash yet. We still got 14 months runway. It's just the reason we're raising now is to increase the pace, to hire more, to grow the team, to ship faster.
Wow, nice. Congrats on all that.
Crypto Jones here in the chat has a really good question. He says, could you walk us through a few use cases that you're excited about? I guess just generally, just talk about the use case of a neobank, but the use case for Liminal specifically, whatever your moat is, and then kind of get into some of those use cases you're excited about.
I think the best place to start is on the AI side. Right now, it's basically just it's a conversation loop that can execute tool calls. But what we're moving towards is a conversation loop that can write mini programs over our CLI. And then the question just becomes can you give it the right primitives so that it can, the more you give it, the more, what's the word? Expressive it can be, and build up these programs that combine these in all the ways that previously that would be if I want to do a scheduled limit buy, that's a whole feature that I need to implement. Here it's just does the user want it? Talk to the agent and they can have it. And then there's also the agentic commerce side. So there's Amazon, eBay, Etsy. In Brazil here it's Mercado Libre. All of these, if you can plug in that sort of stablecoin payment gateway that pays for these goods, then you open up the world of agentic commerce. I think right now it's just most of what these agents are buying is tokens for the LLM to sustain itself, and data. So there is your agent will pay for some stock price information or tokens to keep itself running. But it's kind of geared more towards the casino side of crypto, whereas we're trying to build it into just everyday life. So just being able to get your agent to go out and purchase a plane ticket is the common example. But or even imagine we're building out a network as well. This is Liminal users can send money to other Liminal users. What if their agents can communicate with each other? What if their agents build up a memory system that learns something about the way it trades and the way it makes money, and that agent can sell that data to another agent? These are the kind of things that become possible with what we're building. But yeah, we're starting with that programmability, having the agent actually being able to write the program composed of these primitives from the CLI.
Chill, yeah. Did you want a follow-on question on that?
No, I didn't have a follow-on.
Yeah, I wanted to get into two things. We'll kind of start getting into wrapping this in the next like 5 or 6 minutes, but just want to touch on just your revenue model here and how the agents play into that revenue model, which is honestly pretty exciting because I guess like theoretically maybe it increases the velocity of like what people are doing on the app. I think most banking apps, people like open it, like pay a bill, close it, and then like come back in 3 weeks. So I'm curious on that. And then your team, I remember you saying your team was like stacked, a lot of people from some pretty big Web2 existing finance companies. And maybe we'll end off with your team and just some final thoughts. But yeah, talk to us a bit about the revenue and business model there.
Sure. So I think there's 2 ways we make money at the moment, which is on the, like, we take a tiny little fraction of the like FX on cross-border transfers. That's still incredibly low. Like Wise is the best example of someone who does cross-border payments. Their average fee is around 0.5%. Our average fee is like 0.15%. So we're basically 5 times better than Wise on cross-border transfers, and we're still able to make revenue off that. And then the other side is on the chat. So LLMs are very expensive to run. You need a kind of way of rate limiting usage. So what we're thinking about there is using Lil as like a credit system for buying these tokens. And this obviously, the more value you want to get out of the chat, the more you need to talk to it. It also builds up this memory of you. It learns about what you care about and the types of equities that you might want to buy, or the types of shoes that you might want to buy. Like it will just build up all this kind of memory system. But we need a way of sort of rate limiting that usage, and we think Lil is the perfect use case for that. So we'll be basically, if you can buy some Lil, get it into the app, then you can basically use that as credits. And then we make revenue off that in a few different ways, like from the creator rewards and from there's also like subscription tiers you can do. But we're right now we're just trying to
keep swap fees on the trades that the agents are making.
What do you mean? So we
like if I buy an asset on Liminal, do you have a small trading fee, I'm assuming?
There is a 20-cent flat fee on trades. So that's
pretty competitive, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Our philosophy here is we want to keep all these fees as low as possible, and instead of building something that extracts value like traditional fintech has done, we think we can make loads of money by creating something really valuable. So we don't want to just grab fees at every sort of transaction point. We think we can build this AI system that is so valuable that there'll be many ways to monetize.
One of the early ways like Binance's BNB really got traction is they use BNB. If you had it on the platform, you got like preferred trading fee tiers, and there's just like so many of these little like mechanisms they implemented. Like, do you see Lil doing kind of something similar for your product? I mean, you mentioned it being used as like a compute credits or something for the agents.
Yeah.
Any other kind of...
the other thing we're looking at is like on the FX fees, like if it's 0.15% today, maybe hold a certain balance of Lil, use that to offset the price, and then basically cross-border fees go to 0. Yeah, we are definitely looking into that.
Cool. Any other things you want to announce, discuss, or share, and then just maybe end off with just who is building this product again? Of course, we know you, Jack, but who else is on your team?
So we have this cracked front-end dev, Fez. So he's taken my attempt at the mobile. I mean, he started as a web app, but he's basically built the whole thing again from scratch from the last time we spoke. And he's got the app into a state where we can actually get it submitted into the App Store. And then we've got Luke, who is our backend engineer. He's an expert in payment systems and like cloud computing infrastructure, but on both the infrastructure and the product side. So he's helped sort of double the pace on the back end as well. We'll probably need a new front end guy soon, so Fez can keep pushing features out. And then we'll be doing a fundraise soon, so we'll be expanding that team. But probably looking to get some more people on the crypto side in, and the AI side.
Awesome. Do you have like community managers and stuff like in a Telegram? I'm sure there's a little Telegram somewhere that you're a part of.
We've been running like hackathons where we go to universities and we basically unleash them on our agentic SDK and let them build like extend the tool set of our AI agents. So like some people have built like scheduled payments on it. Some people have built so like someone bought something on a Shopify store. There's Telegram group chat. It's more geared towards that. Most of what we do is on Twitter, on X.
Awesome. Anything? Any other final things you want to leave us with? Announce, or something I can put in the show notes?
I think just the main thing is stay tuned for the app release. Make sure you hold some Lil so you can get early access. And yeah.
turn into mindless vassals who now they look up to some twit instead of looking up to Thomas Jefferson or looking up to Nikola Tesla or looking up to Magellan. I mean, kids, Magellan's a lot cooler than Justin Bieber. He circumnavigated with one ship the entire planet. He was killed by wild natives before they got back to Portugal. And when they got back, there was only...
But why? $22 million in 3 fucking hours! There is no nobility in poverty. I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time. The real question is this: was all this legal? Absolutely fucking not. The feeding grounds at the edge of the ice, nor return to the colony. Shortly afterwards, we saw him heading straight towards the mountains, some 70 kilometers away. Dr. Ainley explained that even if he caught him and brought him back to the colony, he would immediately head right back for the mountains. But why?
What's your dream? To go away.
To go away. That's right.
Do you guys want to drink? I don't understand why everybody has to be so judgmental. I understand why mom's judgmental. I think it's because she cares partially. I think it's also partially because everyone else is looking at her like, hey, Cody's just a bum. Cody's this, Cody's that, Cody's this. Cody's me, bro. Let me be me.
Yo, what's good, boys? Chill. How we doing?
GMCG, what's goody?
Whoa, stream looking good.
I'm not gonna lie, kind of like this stream layout.
Let's go, dude.
Boys, how y'all feeling? Kish, what up?
Man, that's a name we haven't seen in a while, huh?
Yeah, it's been a little minute. Good to see you again, bro. A King's Mentality, my guy. Greetings. One of the MCG OGs, along with Kish as well. How's it going, boys? Dom, how you doing, bro? What's how you feeling today with this whole market war, risk off? What are we thinking?
Dude, it's crazy. Everything's crazy. I'm a little under the weather here. I got the towel, napkins, whatever you want to call those, ready to go. But man, the war stuff is crazy. I mean, I'm sure you and Josh talked about it yesterday. Honestly, I wasn't able to listen too much into it. Josh probably had some really good takes, but
yeah,
I don't know, crazy stuff.
Josh talked about it yesterday. Basically, he was saying that, like, it was going to be a quick conflict and things of that nature, which for the most part it was. But then, like, now they they closed the Strait of Hormuz, and like now that's causing oil to spike and all this other stuff. So it's like, but apparently this was all according to plan. Like, that's what I'm seeing as well. So
what do you mean the Strait of Hormuz closing has been all according to plan?
Yeah, I guess the retaliation by Iran to try to lengthen out the conflict it seems to be according to some grand master plan that Trump has. So yeah, not really sure about the how right that is, but that's just what the narrative that's being spun around there.
Yeah, I mean, either way, I've been seeing reports that Strait of Hormuz is not actually closed, and that all
Yep.
the warships that were, in that region have been taken out. I heard there were 11 got taken out in like a day or something. I don't know, bro. Iran, I just cannot understand what they're doing. I don't really understand the strategy here. They went after and bombed, military bases in like 9 different countries. They have absolutely zero friends in that region right now, and it's just like it almost feels like their ultimate demise is it's inevitable here. I don't see them taking their way out.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither. Honestly, despite all of that, I'm just chilling. I'm just chilling in my bags, bro. I'm chilling in my bags. I'm watching these markets. Quick, I got a question for you, Dom. So when because we trade on chain, right? We're crypto traders. But now that we have access to other markets, do you find yourself interested in other markets? Like, okay, it used to be there's a bear market in crypto, but like you can't go anywhere, right? Like all your money's on chain, so people just they trade the micro caps, they trade the hamster racing meta for memes. But like now we have trading terminals giving us access to, you know, commodities, precious metals, stocks, like are you like how are you thinking about trading now? Are you just trading on chain or are you just kind of like, taking advantage of all these other markets?
No, it's a good question. I haven't been trading a lot of equities just because I mean, I feel like now is not a great time to get into equities. You're pretty much buying at like historical all-time highs, and we've just been ranging now for like 130 days on um, a lot of ETFs or like baskets. Dow Jones, Nasdaq, S&P, all of those. I don't know, dude. Like as you guys know, I traded silver for a while, sold a good bit here on this last pump. But no, I mean, really not. Like, I guess the only thing you could say I've been trading on chain, uh, new is like private equity is probably the only thing I would say, right? Like SpaceX,
Yeah.
um, Kalshi and stuff like that. But no, really, really nothing crazy. Why you?
Yeah, man. I mean, look, I have this thesis that like equities, it's looking like a low key like a top in equities because it looks like it's falling off, like especially on the weekly. It looks at the very least like this was like a local top of some sort. So I find myself like, okay, like if it looks like stocks are going to take a tumble, especially off the back of war news, I mean, if that's an easy short that I can short on my trading terminal, like why not? You know what I mean? It's like there's money to be made in crypto for sure, but like if there's easy money, like quote unquote easy money to be made outside of crypto, like but you have the means to trade it, like why not? Right? Like
Are you
that's what
short
I'm
right
thinking
now?
of.
The markets?
So I'm looking to short. I'm looking to short a few things, but not really sure yet. I'm waiting for like Nvidia. Like if Nvidia breaches below like a key level, then I'll consider shorting. Tesla's like in like key support, so I don't want to short it yet.
Do you want
But
to pull
like
up
if
some
these,
charts and show me what you're
yeah,
looking at?
yeah,
Tesla's one I am looking to reposition in. That's one I've been calling for. I mean, dude, I love Tesla as a trade for a while. It was super undervalued. I think it was at like $140 a little while ago. Not a little while ago at this point, but a while ago. And I was long and strong on Tesla for a good bit of time, but I want to reposition because I'm out now.
yeah. By the way, Kish, so Josh isn't here today. Today's his day off of streaming. Yeah, we still stream 5 days a week. So we try to give ourselves a little bit of break, a little bit of a break so we can take care of some other business side of things. Congrats on the
Speaking
Trojan.
speaking
Yeah,
of,
go
should
ahead.
we maybe give us a little soundbite here on the Trojan because the new layout looks fantastic. We got the black colors to it. We're gonna be doing this on Friday. Trojan will be like the main theme on Friday because it'll be trader focused. As you guys know, Fridays are our trader radio where we talk about charts, have a trader on. But yeah, I mean it looks really good. So any comments you want to make on the Trojan partnership?
Yeah, 100%. Actually, We were talking a little bit about Trojan yesterday, and let me switch to my Trojan terminal and give like a little bit of let me use my spoof wallet and boom. So on Trojan here, as you can see, there's this explorer section. You have your normal trenches section. I have a certain like customization. I don't watch like almost bonded or newly created tokens. I only use migrated tokens over 24 hours old with a certain amount of volume. That typically gives me the best if I am looking to trench a little bit. Explorer section, it just helps me to see like where is volume going, what's volume buying. Same thing on this one though, as far as some of the filters that I have for it. Like there's like a certain volume that I want to see out of certain tokens, and then certain ages as well. Like I don't like new pairs right now. Like new pairs right now are like complete and utter AIDS.
Mm.
So I try to avoid it as much as I can, and I use the filters to really filter that out. Um, like one that I was looking at, for example, but this one is actually pretty new. It's this like whole One Piece meme coin, but not really like actively trading stuff. Just saw that One Piece was like making the news the other day. But this is what I was talking about with you earlier. That's why I kind of asked that question, Dom. I have via terminal, I can do perps. I can long, short, Bitcoin, ETH, tons of other stuff, hype, fart coin. But I can also long things like VVV. We both are pretty bullish on VVV and what they're doing.
Yeah.
So that's a free long into support.
And so
If we
you
can
can go
identify
leverage
a
on
good
these too,
setup.
huh?
Yeah, yeah, you
Mm.
can go up to 3x with these, up to 10x with some. Um, and I think with Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol, you can probably go 20x. Yeah, yeah. So with the majors, you can go 20x. But honestly, I'm good on 10x leverage. 10x leverage is all I need. But like here, we have gold, right? Like we have the gold chart. We have Robinhood, Nvidia, Tesla, Apple, Meta. I
Oh,
also
you
put
were asking me
silver
what
and
else I'm buying?
copper. Yeah.
Robinhood, bro, is starting to get down to those levels where I'm really tempted. I still want it a little bit lower, but man, it's starting to look appetizing.
Yeah, like there's a few of these that I wanna watch for sure. Will Trojan be adding prediction markets?
It's a
I
good
think that's a
question.
good question. I mean, look, I think Trojan they're looking to be like an all-in-one, you know what I'm saying? On-chain, perps, trenching. So I'd assume prediction markets would be in there somewhere, and that would make the most sense. But I guess we can maybe ask the team when they come on for an interview at some point when we get that scheduled. But yeah, man, I love this. I'm actually gonna add copper. Oh no, copper's already there. I'm gonna be trading a crap ton of copper, bro. Like I have a nice little copper thesis. But yeah, like it's like if there's a bull market somewhere, like right now in precious metals, there's a bull market somewhere. Why don't we just trade that easy? Trojan looks good. I'll give it a try. Sounds good. A King's mentality. You can use the QR code in the bottom left corner of the screen there. You can scan it, and that'll give you some nice perks, discounts on trading, etc. By the way, Trojan has the like largest cash back on the market right now. They give you 45% cash back. Imagine getting almost half your trading fees back directly into your pocket. Um, so yeah, that's pretty nice. But yeah, Dom, I mean, let
No,
me see
just
here.
just to wrap on that, dude.
Yeah.
We appreciate Trojan for helping support the show. Um, it's really helpful, and it's nice to have a terminal that is willing to work with us, and it's so great. Trojan has stuck around and been around for the longest time now. I
Yep.
mean, you think back to Unibot, you think back to Banana Gun. These were all things that were around when Trojan first came out. None of them survived. Trojan did, right? And when you compare the two, none of them are doing this, right? Trojan is live. They have $5 million in Solana rewards for early users. It's a great time to get in and start farming their potential airdrop that they're going to do. Which is what all terminals say, but at least you're working towards something. It feels like when you're trading, like Chill said, 45% cash back. Really sleek terminal, and so we're grateful for this partnership. I think it's really cool, and especially to be partnering with a legacy legends like Trojan. So yeah, guys, anytime you use the code, it also supports us, and we appreciate all you guys coming into the chat, constantly giving us stuff to talk about, and we show up every day to do it, and stuff like this really helps. So it goes a long way when you guys use these referral codes. As much as it seems like corny and sometimes shilly, it is meaningful. So that's all I'll say on that. But shout out Trojan. Stream looks great.
Shout out the boys at Trojan, man. Their TG bot survived even after terminals went live and remained one of the highest used. I don't know how they did it, but they did, and now they're making something really cool, and they're giving a ton of rewards to users. So to me, it's like, well, why not, right? Like,
For sure.
they have like daily jackpots and stuff. But anywho, that's the whole terminal, the Trojan terminal breakdown. Shout out them. Really love their terminal, their product.
And so before we dive into the charts, real quick, I'll give you guys a rundown on what we got for the show today, and then we'll jump into a few things we have beforehand. Gonna try to cut it here. We got a long show today, so we're gonna try to cut it pretty quickly after we wrap up at the end here. So maybe not going through a ton of charts, so we're gonna try to cover that at the start. That being said, today's lineup at 12:30 we have Stable coming in. They're an RWA platform. I believe it has something to do with your home mortgage and earning yield on that and being able to pay your mortgage with it. Got to get into the details. I think a pretty novel concept, though. Pretty cool. We got Blastig. Does not have a token yet. Get to launch a token. But we are going to have David on from there. He is at ZFels. We know ZFels has invested in some of the projects that are sponsors of the show and support the show. So shout out David and shout out Blastig. We'll have them on. AmberVibe. This is going to be the only base person for the day. So we're going to have AmberVibes come on. Not really too familiar with what they're doing. And then finally, we're going to wrap it with MetaProfit, which would be super interesting because we just had the Ranger vote to be liquidated, the treasury to be liquidated. So we'll talk with him about that and a little bit about Futardio, the new decentralized, democratized launchpad that MetaDAO is pushing out. So stack show today. With that being said, let's get into some charts, some updates from the trenches. We'll cover some stuff for the next 10 minutes here before Stable. Chill, all you.
Yeah. So let's jump into some things here. First, let's touch on let's visit the homie Felix Craft AI. We've been talking about Felix a ton on the show, but it just seems like every single day there's some sort of like update. Basically, Felix has hired yet another human to this time they basically created like an app store for agents. He created what's called claw sourcing, and so where humans can actually hire agents. So that's actually crazy. But someone actually got hired by Felix, at least someone else.
Oh, dude, I saw this. It's crazy.
Yeah, so that's actually just so an agent sourced a candidate, evaluated fit, and closed the hire. Like literally the whole process was handled autonomously. So that was actually pretty awesome. I'd never even I was like, whoa, like that's actually crazy. But we've been talking about Felix a lot. Quick look at the chart. We're not even gonna dive too deep into it. But here's the chart. Basically back into our buy zone that we talked about last week. So yeah. So that's quick look at Felix. I think there is some other stuff as well that we wanted to touch on. You guys know that Josh went into the hype trade over the weekend, and just this morning we got the news that hype will be, or rather that perp trading will be legalized in the state of in the United States, I should say. So here in the US, we'll finally have perp trading, and so that's obviously bullish for Hyperliquid and other perp platforms. Thank God that they're doing this. I've been waiting on this for a long time. But that should bode well for the Hyperliquid chart. Actually, let's take a look at that real quick. While we have that up, just take a quick peek at the chart, see what it's doing. Since yesterday, it's actually kind of like, or I should say yesterday, it actually pumped up a little bit. Now it's just kind of cooling off, deciding on a direction. But this is a pretty key area here for Hyperliquid. I mean, if this decides to if this decides to pull back at all, I think I'll probably go for a cheeky long here, like anything around 28 bucks, maybe even a little lower if I can get it. Maybe if I can even get something like here, that would be nice. But either way, that's what we're looking at with hype. Very, very strong chart. So looking very good
And let
here.
me add to this too. Remember, guys, when you're trading hype, hype's an interesting case because hype does well when there's volatility, right? Reason being is when people get liquidated, hype makes money. Okay, that's how these perp platforms predominantly work. It's how actually a few platforms work, but we'll talk perps for now. So when you see Bitcoin going up and down and seesawing like we're seeing today, where it's down 3% at this 3.5% at the start of the day, got up to like down 0.2%, almost even on the day, and now it's back down another 1 to 2%. People are getting liquidated. And when you see gold, right, hype's captured a lot of the gold prediction or markets. And so what happens here is when you see this volatility and stuff is going up and down and all around, people are getting liquidated, hype's making money. So it's kind of interesting, even though the crypto market might be going down predominantly, hype, if it's going down fast enough and causing enough volatility, hype actually is a benefactor of that. So a bit of a hedge against the bear market. As long as you're not in a slow sideways bear market, hype is typically doing well when the market's actually super volatile like this. So just wanted to add that note so you understand how these perps markets actually work.
Yeah, you love to see the volatility. Let's see. One other thing that I wanted to point out as well, just another flag. Like I said yesterday, we talked about PsyOp Anime a ton. Yesterday, we talked about recently how their video did 100 mil, or I should say 1 million views in less than 24 hours. We're constantly seeing them being pushed by different news outlets. This time, Mario Nawfal. I'm assuming this isn't paid. Yeah, it doesn't have a paid promotion tag, so I'm assuming it's not paid. I'm assuming he just, really likes the PsyOp Anime style of format of news. So just another shout out there on PsyOp Anime. Real quick, let's take a look at the chart. Let me just see what that's looking like real quick here, because I believe we're on a nice pullback. So yeah, here's the PsyOp Anime chart. Yeah, so it's cooling off from the pump that we saw yesterday, still forming these like higher lows though. Looking good. So maybe we bottom out right there, and maybe we go for another push higher.
That is a good looking chart.
Yeah. Yeah, I love PsyOp Anime, man. Gotta give the boys credit over there. I love the way they're moving just on absolutely everything.
Also, I guess Trump is live right now speaking. I didn't know this was happening, but
Trump
not sure
is live.
Yeah, that's what I just saw. Did you
Let me
know he was
see.
speaking today?
I did not. I did not. I know he spoke yesterday.
Yeah, maybe this is just like a pop-up thing.
Let me see. I'm just gonna take a look. Trump
Quick little search.
live. So it looks like he's finished. He was with the German chancellor at the White House.
I wonder what
Oh,
was discussed
jeez.
there. This is regarding
Look.
the war, right? Surely, right?
Here's a clip. I'm gonna reshare my screen so you guys can actually hear the audio from this clip here. But it looks like he totally mogged the UK government. But he had the UK
By the way,
chancellor
I'm not
here.
happy with the UK either. That island that you read about, the lease, okay, he made it for whatever reason, he made a lease of the island. Somebody came and took it away from him. And it's taken 3-4 days for us to work out where we can land there. It would have been much more convenient landing there as opposed to flying many extra hours. So we are very surprised. This is not.
So I guess, you have the some chancellor from the British government, and you basically just come out and say you're not happy with the UK. So I guess that was a moment from when Trump went live there. But no, I don't think I think actually the event itself is over. He's no longer live.
Maybe grok it in real quick and just get the context of what they were talking about for the meeting.
Yeah,
It
let me
had to.
see
It had
here.
to be about the war, right?
I would assume so. Give me a summary of the Trump live event.
Do you know how much leverage Josh is running on his hype trade, or maybe that you're
Nah,
running?
it's spot. It's spot.
Spot hype.
Yeah.
No leverage.
It,
1-1.
yeah, Josh's trade is spot. If I'm trading hype, it'll be 10x leverage. I don't go more than 10x. Sorry. Like beyond that, I'm just not that skilled of a trader.
I mean, even
I'm
10x
just not. Yeah. 10x is good enough for me.
for sure.
Yeah. Let
Did
me
Grok
see
say
here.
anything about this?
Grok is thinking.
Grok takes a while to think sometimes. Now, I'm not sure if you saw this recently, bro, but ChatGPT has been dethroned as the #1 app on the App Store by Claude, right?
Dude,
So
I
Anthropic,
saw that.
dude, yeah. So
Yeah.
Anthropic got, basically the ban hammer from the United States, right? They're like, pfft. And also, I guess they were used in the recent Operation Epic Fury that the United States conducted on Iran. I'm not sure in what capacity, but that was pretty crazy to see nonetheless. But yeah, so Claude's #1 on the App Store against OpenAI, which was just wild to see. Yeah, here it is.
Yes. So 295% uninstall rate, uninstall surge in one day. 1-star reviews are up 775%. 5-star reviews are down 50% for ChatGPT. Meanwhile, Anthropic, said no to the U.S. government. Downloads are up 81%, and as Dom mentioned, it hit #1 on the App Store.
So this is
Crazy.
clearly people are like, okay, well, Claude's not selling our data, giving our data and access to the United States government. OpenAI is, I'm making the switch. I would imagine that's what's driving these numbers, but these numbers are pretty crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, look,
Okay.
I feel like Claude is just the chat of all AI companies at this point when they're standing on business and willing to not make money just to keep the average Joe safer from things like mass surveillance and stuff like that. So shout out them. Grok came back on some stuff that happened with,
And Josh has a TLDR here too.
British
wouldn't
not
let the aircraft land in
Mhm.
Cyprus is pretty much.
Got it. So I asked if anything meaningful happened. So he said, it said, yes, in the context of escalating Iran conflict, this was significant as Trump's first extended public comments alongside a foreign leader since the strike began. No quick end to war could mean prolonged U.S. involvement, firm commitment to regime weakening goals. So like, making sure they have no nuclear weapons, and diplomatic messaging to allies and regional fallout. So nothing crazy that we missed from this. I think the biggest thing is just that it's going to be a little longer than what it's not just a weekend war, right? Like where it starts and finishes. It's manageable, but the US will be involved for a few weeks. And I think the markets priced that okay, like, without any major moves.
Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin's held up very, very well. Nonetheless, maybe we'll have some time after to talk about this. Like we have,
Let's go ahead.
stacked lineup. If Winston's ready, we can bring him up. Winston, you want to give us a thumbs up, or we're good to go? All right, sweet. We got Winston with us. Winston, man, thanks for joining us. You're doing something really interesting on the RWA side, something I don't think I've seen before. Pretty novel approach. So we're happy to get you on today to talk a bit about stable.
Thanks so much for having me. I hear the best things about you guys. The whole is bing, 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 bing.
Wow.
You got to get on with these guys. And, I saw the day 1, day 2 of responding until Stable Street responds. I'm like, oh, give me a day 3. Come on. But no, super happy to be here. Thank you so much. I'm a bit sick. So if I cough or anything, hopefully I don't die. But, it's not worth missing you guys. So happy to be here.
Well, Winston, it's not missing you either. I'm sick as well. So you and I are in the same boat. We can
Hell yeah.
quarantine together here on the show.
That's awesome.
Okay. Well, let's start with you, man. Would love to hear a bit of your background and just, how you got to where you are today, and then we'll jump into Stable and what you guys are building over there. So start with yourself, Winston, please.
Sure. Yeah. So I was first, it's a bit of a long story. I was first interested in the idea of real estate and blockchain back in 2017. I was doing research for this really small family office out in London. We were focused primarily on properties within the M25, which just means like the greater London area, like the whole circle. And we were trying to find novel and interesting ways to get into there. And we were also sort of in the process of moving capital out of like the Syria, Lebanon area into a more secure, stable, long-term area. And so we were taking like any approach on the table. I did a lot of research on prefabs. This thing called blockchain came across my desk, and I'm just like, whoa, what's that? I noticed, you could send payments really fast, and that was about it. Moved on, circled it, moved on with my life. But I'm like, look into that blockchain and real estate thing. And I actually made a note. I took a picture of the note not too long ago. But that was sort of the start of this journey. Since then, I got into real estate, mortgages, data science, which was sort of AI infrastructure is what you'd call it now, into blockchain. And so I was first recruited into crypto by Near. Actually, they wanted me to start a Near science program. That never really worked out, but I did a whole bunch of hackathons and started my first company, WeMeta, which was metaverse real estate, which was awesome in 2021 and the start of 2022. And then, as you guys know, it fell off a cliff. And so we were an NFT marketplace aggregator. That was my first foray into the space. Learned a lot, saw a lot of opportunities. Again, the payments were very fascinating to me. The idea of like this data ledger where you can have shared data across different parties and different people with access to that data and the ability to change it, modify it, source it, scan it. And just sort of slowly dove back into, okay, the metaverse thing fell off a cliff. What's the next thing I can do that is sort of like not tied to the success of any particular market? Like, what's something that people always need? Where somewhere I can provide value that's constant. And sort of just, spent about a year really thinking about ideas, iterating over ideas. We talked a lot about bringing real estate on chain at WeMeta. And so found the idea of it and then really got into the liquidity issue that a lot of people see. So there's like all this people tokenizing real estate, then what happens? What's the benefit? And I was staying with my aunt, actually. She owns her house and, like many Americans, has bills. She's older, retired, and she was stressing about an electricity bill. And that was mind-boggling to me, that somebody who owns their house outright was stressing over a tiny bill. But like that's millions of Americans right now. And so I sort of had this idea of like, wow, you could borrow against this house, you could lend out on Aave. And there was a 2% spread at that time, just for the traditional mortgage rate, into lending USDC or USDT on Aave, take your pick. And so that was like the birth of the idea that became Stable. And then like diving deeper and deeper and deeper into really mortgages and how the system works. So there's an incredible data inefficiency. And so just in like tokenizing the mortgages, you're bringing incredible value. Faster payments processing is incredible value, but also the ability to unlock this home equity in a way that's risk off for the homeowner, and like iterating on like that dream idea. And so that's how I really got into this.
Yeah, it's fascinating. When I think about this concept, like in theory, it makes a ton of sense, and it's like, okay, I can pay off my mortgage based on some of the DeFi mechanisms and yields that you can earn only through crypto and these crypto rails. But what I struggle with is it just feels like we're not quite there yet in terms of adoption. How are you guys thinking about that and going to the average person that's maybe not a crypto native that has a home payment?
Yeah, partnerships and playing it very slow, playing it very, very, very slow. So I don't see this as like the home equity account that we announced. We had a video that came out yesterday. I don't see that as like something that's going to scale to 1 million homes this month. Probably not this year. I see it as something, okay, well, we have, one, we're scaling out to a few, then we'll scale out to a few dozen, then we'll scale out to a few hundred, then we'll scale out to a few thousand. And that process will take years. On the bright side, each of those deposits is like incredibly valuable. We're adding real value to real people. And like, frankly, and what makes me happy is like, if we had 100 houses that were just sitting there and the homeowner was getting a check for $500 a month, that's awesome. And like, if that's all we can do right now, that's great. I think we are a little bit constrained by the size of the market in that sense. And I'd say that's one reason why we're also thinking about like the actual tokenization of the capital markets behind mortgages, because that brings this institutional liquidity on chain where you could sort of turn this home equity account into a proper product. And just for like, in case there's anybody in the audience, I know crypto talks a lot about products, but we're getting there. A product, you can think of like every single mortgage is technically a product. It has a certain defined of parameters. There's certain people doing certain jobs. There's certain infrastructure it's built on top of. And so really, if we can turn this thing into a product while bringing the liquidity and like the actual traditional mortgage markets on chain, I think that's our best opportunity to scale.
Yeah, this is pretty fascinating. I don't think the concept is very hard to understand. I think it just kind of clicks for a lot of people. Can you walk me through the process of how this would look? You know, this is an example here, right? You have a $310,000 house or $310,000 in equity in a home. Can you walk me through what kind of happens or what this looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, essentially, you have debt, equity. We want to put those into like the same account, and so like that's the first start. Is like treat these things as like one thing, which is surprisingly not how a lot of finance works right now. So you want to treat them as one thing, and then you have this asset, you have this debt. We know that you can cash out refi against it. We know you can take a HELOC against it. We know that you could sell it to a hedge fund. HomeTap is one that I particularly like. I like their model where they'll buy 10% of your house. We know those options exist. So there's liquidity for that equity. That liquidity exists. It exists in a traditional way, hundreds of millions. You know, I think the HELOC market is like 800 and something $billion. Figures done like 17 billion or something in it. And so we know that liquidity exists. And it's like, can you take that liquidity and deploy it into a profitable strategy? And then with that, have the ability to roll it back up in case the strategy ever became unprofitable for any reason whatsoever, with the mechanism or the protocol that is managing that deployment and roll up actually taking on the risk, because homeowners shouldn't have to take on that risk. And like the dream theoretical product, right? And so you see sort of like, okay, well, flash loans sort of enable something like that. That's probably like the start. And then it's like, well, can you do a longer term deployment? I think we see interesting opportunities with things like Pendle. If you can actually get into like stronger, longer term deployments of like, well, okay, we know this strategy is going to pay out 12% or whatever for 90 days. We know that the sort of cost to get this liquidity against this house is 8%. Okay, well, then you can take the 8%, you deploy it into the 12%, you set it for 90 days, then you roll it back up. In traditional finance, that would look sort of like a CD structure, where when you deposit your money into a CD with the bank, who knows what they do with it? We know that they're going to pay you an interest rate. If we can be a bit more transparent than that, that's obviously the goal. I think transparency is the primary, really that's what we're going for, is like, how do we make this thing as transparent as possible? Like not just that, but everything we do. That's the whole point that's the largest value of blockchain. So that's sort of the process of how it would work is you have this property, it's worth a certain amount of money. We don't appraise, we don't underwrite. We're not responsible for like any of it. And so if other people are like, hey, this can't happen, then, you know, we can't make it happen. But if there's, you know, where the underwriting looks good, the appraisal looks good, the rates look good, the deployment opportunity looks good, great. We want to be the rails in which you can just line it up and go with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Makes a ton of sense. The next question that I would get from that is what is like the risk factor of this? Assume we get another 2008 or great financial crisis, or you know, home prices drop significantly for whatever reason. Like what kind of risk and protections do you guys have in place?
Yeah. So in the traditional mortgage market side, that's like when we're talking about tokenizing regular mortgage-backed securities. That risk is actually managed by the securities issuers, largely in the United States. It's called credit risk is one way to think about it. It's like, what is the odds that this person stops paying? And maybe they stop paying because they got laid off. Maybe they got stopped paying for any other reason. Maybe they stopped paying because the house is now worth, you know, half of what it was before. It just doesn't make sense. And so that in a traditional sense, that has really been hedged since 2008, and sort of the market structure has fundamentally changed. When we're talking about more of like the home equity accounts and like the idea of you actually have these active deployments and you might need to recall the liquidity or roll it back up, low LTVs. So in a traditional mortgage right now, like if you're a first time home buyer, you can get a nice house with like just a few percent down. Whether that's good or bad, I think it's probably good, just given the way that the market's currently structured. the government's really taking on that risk, which again, good or bad, I think it's a good opportunity for people. With us, like a home equity account, you're not going to be seeing anything above like 80 to 85% LTV. And that's just what it is. So that means we can't work with a lot of people. And so it's like the most like early home buyers probably not qualified for something like that. It's a bit unfortunate. Maybe there's a way to solve that long term, but like we do have to think about the fact that like, okay, these house prices may adjust. There is, an underserved demand in the market right now. So there are a lot of people who want to buy houses who feel priced out. I don't know if you've seen, that's kind of what Trump is talking about with lower the rates, Pultees. And so like there's a lot of people who want to buy houses that can't. And so the sort of sentiment in the market is if something like that were to come into play, it would just get bought back up for say at least 5-10%. And then given sort of the way the market's been structured, it's pretty difficult for something like that to happen again. But just in case, then you would have this sort of 80-85% LTV max on the home equity accounts to make sure that that's hedged.
Okay, question on the yield, and Chill, you can bump in wherever you want here. This is fascinating. Question on the yield. How are you guys getting consistent yield, making sure it stays at a level that's going to make sense for this to work?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's liquidity pools, which are reasonably volatile. And then like it's our capital that's on the line. And so like if there was any unprofitable situation, like we're just eating the loss. And so we're sort of seeing how that structure sort of plays. Like, is there a liquidity that we can put into this thing that maybe the liquidity provider is earning a variable rate? And then therefore, if the actual deployment is a variable rate, they can sort of play together in this world. For fixed, we have to start moving into protocols like Pendle. I think that's the best way to do it on chain right now. I know there's a lot of other protocols that are enabling certain things like that. I've been really focused on this, and so I haven't had an opportunity to keep up with them per se. But any that you guys would think that sort of comparing to that Pendle area is probably, a compatible mix, if that makes sense. And so, like, can you deploy this for 5 years and guarantee that like every single month for 5 years is going to be a consistent payment? Probably not right now. Can you do it for 90 days? That seems pretty realistic. And it's like, can you do it for 90 days, then 90 days, then 90 days, then 90 days? That seems likely. And then of course you have to get into the whole Pendle risk structure of like, what are these assets and where's the yield actually coming from? But there's been a lot of, very successful Pendle pools or whatever the proper term to refer to them is.
A good question from, it looks like Josh from the MCG account here. Does this work in Canada where you have 3 to 5 year mortgage terms? And maybe, I guess, also tell us like what this is limited to at this point.
Yeah, right now, US, I get the Canada question frequently, like very, very frequently. There's lower yield on the deployment, and so like if you go back to the like original way that I thought of the of stable is like it's the stable coin where people are providing liquidity to the mortgage market. And so Canada wasn't attractive in that way. Obviously, like the US is attractive. You have these higher interest rates. Like Dubai, that was also the same reason like Dubai is not attractive for the same reason. Dubai interest rates are even lower than Canada interest rates. And so didn't put a ton of thought into it. I think obviously, yes, like it could. The question is like, where's the liquidity partnership? Do you face then, because it would be measured in CAD. And so like, how do you hedge the CAD versus the USD? And because if you're deploying into DeFi right now, everything is measured in USD. I think that will change. I think there'll be opportunities that come along in the FX market that make a variety of things possible. And I'm super stoked about that. But that would be like the first sort of way you think about it. So like it's probably possible. The borrow rates would be lower. So it may even be a better opportunity. Currently, we're focused entirely on the United States.
So a question that I had was just looking at this overall, looking at just RWA as a sector, looking at this technology, like how much users are you guys attracting? I know sometimes there's this stigma around crypto products, especially with like something as traditional as like home equity. So like how are you guys like I guess attracting users? What's their thoughts? Like, what's the pitch like? Where are you guys advertising yourself? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I'd say hopefully we're not advertising ourselves anywhere at this point. we're talking about, we're starting to talk about, we're talking about it with more and more people. The idea of a home equity account hits hard, like with most people, whether or not they understand crypto. Hedge funds also do a similar strategy. Certain hedge funds do a sort of similar strategy to a certain degree. For example, I was talking to somebody who, I have no idea what his business was, but he claimed that he manages similar opportunities for companies like Open Door, who, they own hundreds or thousands of houses they want to deploy in similar ways. And so I think the average American, frankly, the average homeowner understands it, because they're probably getting these HELOC, these home equity offers all the time, and so they've just seen the language is familiar with them, and they hear like, wait, this is something where I don't have to give up my equity, whereas everybody else wants to they want to snag that equity, and fair enough, but like we don't want to do that. And like every homeowner that I talk to, I stay in a lot of Airbnbs when I travel, and sometimes what do you do for work comes up, and so roughly you're pitching around the idea. Most people seem to understand it. And so on the home equity front, there's more users than we can serve right now. We're trying to figure out, how do you scale this? How do you attract the liquidity to actually scale this? And various conversations about that. On the mortgage front of like just tokenizing regular mortgages in the mortgage market, it depends on where you go. So on like the securities front, a lot of them are pretty well versed in blockchain. They're not necessarily well versed in crypto. They're definitely not very well versed in like this thing we call Web3, but like they understand like the dynamics and like the basics of blockchain. They never talk about it internally, is like the general consensus. On the mortgage broker front, pretty similar. Like they may have an opinion, they may have thoughts around it, they may personally invest in crypto, but like they never talk about it internally. And so I'd say it's kind of like in this like odd niche, like on that side, where it's like you have Wall Street, and like if you go to like any major bank, like everybody has a thought on crypto, everybody's talking about crypto, they have meetings internally about crypto, but like in the mortgage side, not so much. And I think it's because there's just fewer players, and it's not a technology game. It's more of like it's like a market structure, like constant process, slowly chugging play, and just the system has not been updated in a very, very, very long time. And most of the people there don't see themselves as like technology related, whereas like if people at a bank, they invest in technologies. And so I'd say on like the mortgage front, it's like a slow burning relationship building, and then it's like, there's a billion ways to close a deal, right? What are the actual things that need to happen to close that deal? Pending. With banks, the conversation seems quite healthy. I'll be like that's frankly, we slide into $1 billion today, like that shouldn't be a problem scaling to banks. Scaling to mortgage brokers is going to vary broker to broker to broker, because a lot of them are independently owned, they're private companies. Why do they need us? Things like that. And so all of those things have to be explained, just like they were explained to all of us when we got into crypto. But I mean, it's healthy. It's trending positive. I'd say there's nobody who says, oh, blockchain, I'm out. And 3 years ago, that was not the case. And so like, that's hyper bullish for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the fact that people are open to this. Just again, there's this stigma around the industry. So a lot of people are hands off. I've had it where, my bank sees just a crypto transaction, and it's phone calls. Is this you? It's like, there's a lot there, but we're coming to we're coming to a close here in about 8 minutes. But what I want to do is kind of run through some key thoughts. Dom, I saw that you wanted. I saw you kind of.
Sure. So I got a few things. Who's the target
Yeah.
audience here? Is this portfolio companies with a large portfolio under them? Is this single family homes with one home under their, I guess, portfolio? You could say, like, who is the target here?
Right. And I like that you think about it like a single family homes, where it's like it's one home under their portfolio, because I think really what we'd like to change is sort of almost like how you see houses, and that gets into a lot of things that we don't have to discuss. But I frankly, obviously, like the larger companies are probably easier to onboard, because all of a sudden it's like, well, okay, we have $100 million of deposits. We need to get $100 million of liquidity. That's an easier conversation with liquidity providers than I have, 5 houses. I need $5 million of liquidity. And that may be just based on the people that I know. I would like this to be every single American. Like that's my target long term, is definitely like I want the average American benefiting from this. I want the person who, is struggling with their electricity bill to be benefiting from this. I want this to be, this is how you pay for your night out. This is how you pay for, your car bill. This is like your security savings net. Like, that's how I see it. And so where I come in is like the target audience may actually evolve to be like wealth advisors, where like you have these Raymond James, Merrill Lynch, other people who they have this market who now has this asset that has value that's above their account minimums. A lot of those places, they have $100,000, $250,000 account minimums. If you look at the average American right now, they have $300,000 in home equity. It's like, well, okay, if you can turn that into liquidity, all of a sudden, those are potential targets for pretty much every single Main Street wealth advisor. And then like, we don't want to be responsible for like telling you how to use this. Like, that's not, I don't think that's our job. I think our job is to make sure that it works, make sure that it's good, make sure that it like can act as infrastructure. And then there's going to be a variety of people. And like, we'll try to help people avoid the bad ones. But like, I don't think this is something that people are going to go into and be stupid about. I think, people are really a lot smarter and they're becoming more financially savvy than they get credit for, especially, these days being a homeowner is complicated. And so like you bought a house, great, here's 500 things you have to worry about. And I think most people understand most of them. And so right now it's like a mix. I'd say we're starting with like friends and family, like people we know who are interested in the idea, individuals who may have 1, 2, 3, 5 houses. It obviously serves, the people who have 100, 200, 500, however many houses they have quite well. But we're seeing a strong push from President Trump that may actually get signed into legislation about the people who own that many houses. So he wants to limit it to 100. And that'll be quite interesting, like a market dynamic. I think that would obviously give a lot of power to smaller owners who may own, 2, 5, 7, 1 house to actually start to get into more.
Great. That's a fantastic answer. I really like the target and vision with who you're directing it at. Another question from Josh here. Who's the liquidity provider in this scenario?
Banks, frankly, at scale has to be. It'd be great if it was more democratized, decentralized. But when you're talking about like 100 houses, all of a sudden you're like, that's $50 million.
Yeah. And
so it's like, well, okay, that's just 100. We're talking about 10,000 houses. You're talking billions of dollars. Where does that come from? The TVL last I checked on Solana was like 12 or 13 billion. On Ethereum, it's just under 100. Just does Web3 want to provide us with all of the liquidity? That might be interesting. We'd be super down. That'd be dope. It'd be great if it was sort of an Aave play or something like that. I think decentralized is the way to go. It's just how long is that sustainable? And so it really has to get into banks at some point. And like that has to be like the route that we pursue.
I love the way you're thinking. You're clearly thinking very, very, very big on this. Do you have a number on the total addressable market for this vertical?
Yeah, 35 trillion.
35 trillion.
That's not my number. That comes from the Federal Reserve of St. Louis. It was a study that came out around, maybe it was last year or the year before, where it's like, okay, this actually is a decent idea. And to be clear, like the current mortgage market is 13 trillion. It's like if we hit that TAM, we're talking about doubling, tripling, quadrupling the size of the current mortgage market. So like that's why I say it has to be banks. Is like, wow, where does that liquidity come from? Who sustains that? Who processes it? Who onboards off ramps? Like that but like the idea hits, people like the idea, and I think the idea we should try to scale it as big as possible. And so we're going to hit constraints, obviously, I'm sure every step of the way. As we work through those constraints, we'll see what happens.
Going to rattle off a few questions because we are coming up on time here. Crypto Jones says real quick, sounds like a great product for developers that are sitting on a large supply and needs liquidity while waiting for a sale. Any comment on that?
Could be great. I mean, that's a phenomenal idea. There's a lot of people who've approached me already about like, do you want to expand the yield opportunities? Maybe if it's your own property, that could be interesting. We certainly don't want to be like yeeting people's properties into like, whatever the next trend is. We're looking for more long-term tested strategies. But yeah, I think it's phenomenal. I think if we could build an ecosystem of developers, that's obviously great.
Nice. Are you guys backed by anyone? What's the runway on this? Because you mentioned this is a slow burn. You got a longer term vision, broader vision here. How are you guys sustaining and gonna last till this eventually comes?
Yeah, bootstrapped and grants right now. We're in the Pump Fund Hackathon. I think it's going well. It's hard to tell. That's how to be honest.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell if that's going well, but I think it's going well. And then we'll be raising quite soon. So we had an offer to raise last year. There was some misalignment on the numbers and maybe a little bit of miscommunication. But yeah, we'll reapproach raising quite soon, and then we'll go from there. And so far, bootstrapped grants. The Axelar team was really awesome. They got acquired. They helped us out a lot. StarkNet helped us out a little bit as well. And so we're not disconnected. It's just the right opportunity hasn't come along just yet, but I have a good feeling that'll be coming along soon.
Very interesting. Keep us in the loop on that raise. You guys got a lot of moving parts here. Can you tell me a bit about how business development right now and BD is looking from your end? It seems like you were at Mountain Dow just recently. I'd love to hear more about that. And then just these conversations you're having.
Yeah, Mountain Dow is awesome. Everybody should go. If you're missing out, you're not part of the Solana ecosystem. Sorry, not sorry. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, that's everybody at Mountain Dow likes you guys. I don't know if you were there or not, but you should definitely roll through next time. I'm actually currently in a podcast studio at Mountain Dow. So to hit Bear or Edgar up, or I can make an intro for you. Stop by anytime. You guys are well liked here. You guys are doing quite a good job. You're scaling quite well. So keep up the good work on that. Mountain Dow is great. It's phenomenal for BD. The Skyrise team is quite good to work with. I've really been fortunate to connect with them. They have a lot of ideas around BD. Right now for us, it's like get the name out there, get brand recognition, be like somewhat established, which I think will help with the raise, which will help with other things. And so that's sort of how I'm thinking about it. It's like, what is anything that could make sense? I'm super hyper bullish on our crossover with prediction markets over like a 5 or a 10 or a 30-year period, but which is maybe not the best place for early stage startup to be. But I like prediction markets a lot.
Your crossover with prediction markets, like a stable prediction market crossover?
Perhaps, but also like what are rates going to be next year? What do different markets look like? What are rates going to be next week? Any sort of influence that like the broader, especially because you could use it as like a hedge, is like, do we think mortgages are going to go up or down? Do we think this market's going to go up or down? And I actually connected really well with a VC here who's working on a similar idea. And so we may be able to bootstrap with them, or they obviously can invest into where they want to develop that actual product. And it's like, okay, well, we can just be a data provider, or we could just be an advocate for that sort of thing. Because as like the usage of real estate and mortgages crosses over into crypto on like this more like bigger approach, that obviously helps us. And so that's what I see there.
Interestingly, there's another product called Parcel. They're in real estate, and they partnered with, I believe, is Polymarket to provide some of their Oracle data to them.
Yeah, Parcel's awesome.
Yeah, Parcel's really cool. Have you guys? I don't really know how you think about.
We haven't spoken to Parcel. Happy to. That'd be cool. They have a very big vision. Obviously, they've been around for quite a while now. Awesome product. Really like the product. I was a user of the product before the airdrop. I was not just an airdrop farmer, but it was a nice airdrop.
So how did you do on those trades then? Because I found it was very predictable to trade the direction of those markets.
It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
I think it would have been nice to see if they had more volume. I think I did okay. Maybe it was up like 10, 20%, something like that. But those are I think that's what makes me the right founder for something like this. Is I get super geeked about making 5% a year.
Yeah,
like that sounds awesome, man. Like, we could just do that forever.
No, I agree, but I think the crowd here is like so opposite, and that's hilarious. But really cool. Can we talk about the token? Questions on, I believe it's what's the name? USDX. Yeah, well, stable.
There's
the stable
USDX
token.
and they're stable. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about both of those?
Yeah, absolutely. So USDX is essentially a way that you can provide liquidity to this thing. It's like, let's say you're a big bank or you're just a regular person. You want to provide liquidity to anything awesome you just heard about. Just hold some USDX, mint some USDX, provide it into a pool, grow the usage of USDX. Anything you do with USDX, all that liquidity is going back to supporting this market that we're building. And so right now it's lent out, but the idea is in time as that scales, it's going into actually buying, selling, holding, funding mortgages, providing liquidity into other places. Stable is like the project token. What exactly the utility of it is something we're actively thinking about. We're having discussions with the Pump Fund team and some other people around that. Is like, what does the long-term vision of this look like for the utility of Stable? We're also talking to a few VCs about that. And so like right now, Stable was originally released because like, hey, we want to do this Pump Fund hackathon thing. We need a token.
Okay.
And then it's like, well, I guess this is our token. And so it's out there, it's live. It's definitely associated with the project. Like it's definitely our token. What the utility of it looks like is an active discussion. And so like USDX is a longer white paper about it. Expect an update on that white paper in this month. I'm working on actually writing that a little bit last week and then more today. And so expecting a big update on the white paper this month. And then really all it is like, okay, well, you have this property thing. We're going to turn it into liquidity. What does that actually look like? And then what does the structure of the backing of that look like? How do you hedge it? There's a million questions that come up.
So a question that I had, like, I don't know if you've heard about like, ownership coins, as these equity backed coins. Are you guys thinking about that at all with your token? I feel like when you get that underlying kind of piece of the business, it almost like that question around like utility kind of just that takes care of that. How are you guys thinking about that at all?
We're thinking about it. I think it's a serious discussion. And so it's not something that's been like, obviously like there's a MetaDAO room right behind me. I know you guys are talking to them later today. Yeah. There's a lot of questions that come up around that. We haven't really, I mean, this thing, we sort of just launched it. And so we haven't really fully thought that through. Yeah. And so I want to give like a more thoughtful answer because like the ownership coin idea is quite fascinating, especially when you think about like bringing equities on chain. And so it's an active thought process. It's on the board.
Got
Winston,
it.
definitely be in our DMs. We would love to help.
We can
bounce some ideas.
we'd be happy to.
Yeah. That sounds awesome. And then like for the like USDX, like if you wanted to redeem that for a mortgage, yeah, absolutely. Cool. You have to be KYC'd, obviously.
So before as we come to a close here, I guess the last thing we wanted to ask about was just traction. I know you guys had like a case study about someone that kind of used the platform already. That was really interesting to read about. Maybe tell us a little bit about that and any traction that you guys have as far as users, wait lists, or what have you.
Yeah, I should have checked the wait list before I joined this. that would have been wise. We released it yesterday. I know at least 3 or 4 people who want to deposit their house into this. So obviously that would get us up to a couple $1 million in TVL. Just people that I talked to here at Mountain Dow, that was quite big. And then on the mortgage front, we're talking to 2 different sort of I have to sort of watch what I say here, but distribution arms, you could say. And one is a larger mortgage broker, primarily, I mean, obviously US based. They're focused on a variety of different types of mortgages. And so getting into them would be massive. That would bring us, assuming there's liquidity to support, or if there's not liquidity support, we're simply tokenizing then untokenizing, lots of mortgages per month. And then on the distribution side, we're talking to, there's different people who provide software to banks. And so normally like as a software provider, you're not working directly with banks, especially as a newer one. And so there's these distribution arms. We're under NDA with one of those, where like they would take our software and provide it to banks that they already have existing relationships with. And like on that front, stablecoins are doing pretty well. That's probably, I don't know how well known that is, but like Circle and other people are getting quite good distribution into banks. And so that's pretty exciting for us that like our thing can also be included in that stack. Because obviously if we're tokenizing a mortgage, like our stablecoin that is then backed by those mortgages cannot be the payments mechanism there. And so there's some partnerships and discussion there. We've spoken to both Circle and USDG at a very high level. I think it'd be really dope to talk to Tether, just because like that's the king. Who knows? It'd obviously be like their USAT sort of token. And so who knows what that looks like. I heard they're a very small organization. So, but I know some people who know some people. So we'll see what happens there.
Good luck.
Nice.
Thank
Nice.
you. That means a lot. Yeah, no, that'd be massive. So yeah, it's like, oh, B2B SaaS, man. Here's what crypto taught me about B2B SaaS. And so it is sort of that grind. And then on the homeowner front, we really need to figure out, like, how do we get from, like, okay, this guy wants to deposit his house. He really, really wants, he's like quite keen on the idea. How do we make that like a 3-day at most process? And like, how do we automate that? And that's what we're thinking about right now. And as we unlock that, I wouldn't be surprised if we started onboarding, at least a couple of users there a week. And then on the stablecoin front, I think we just crossed, maybe a couple hundred holders on, as far as the holders of stable. I think we may be approaching 1,000. I haven't checked since yesterday.
Nice.
Yeah. I think stablecoins have a very, very good chance of onboarding kind of the next wave of DeFi, right? I mean, I think step one is get everyone onto their native USD rails, except on chain, and then allow them to do these different things with it. So,
right.
Fascinating. Winston, that's our time for today. We appreciate you coming on. This is a fascinating conversation, and we're definitely wishing you the best. Seeing this, work out is seeing kind of crypto manifest into the vision I think a lot of people have in DeFi. So we appreciate you coming on, and it was a great conversation.
Absolutely, guys. Chat soon. Thank you for having me.
Peace.
And Winston will be in your DMs as well. We'll
yes,
chop it up a little later. Good talk.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Chat soon, guys.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
That was awesome.
Dude, yeah. Nice little early stage RWA protocol. I think that's really fascinating with the approach that they're taking. I mean, the fact that they already have, like, in active conversations with, some key players, like infrastructure wise, banks, and stuff like that. They already have some users. They had the case study that I was reading about that I thought was really interesting. Someone like that can be their big kind of moment when people understand that they can, pay off the principal on their mortgage using the yield. I think that's a really cool idea. Really, I think that'd capture a lot of attention.
There's just so much a niche, and I say niche, but it's just, the TAM is $35 trillion, as you mentioned, right? But there's just so many niche opportunities in DeFi that have yet to be explored, and like this is one of the ones that's just like I didn't really think about it, but of course it makes sense. So wishing him the best. I think it's a big vision. It might take a little bit of money to get him where he really wants to be, and some time as well, just for people to I guess grow comfortable in understanding these Web3 rails and stuff. But really like that was a super fascinating conversation. I gotta hit the bathroom real quick. We got 5 minutes before our next segment here with David. Crypto Jones.
Yes, share my screen too before you go.
Yeah, for sure. Crypto Jones said maybe do staking features to free up your capital that's tied up in liquidity pools and continue to grow while providing upside to stakers. Yeah, go hit him with that question. Sorry, we ran out of time there, so couldn't quite get that to him. But always good suggestions from you, Crypto Jones. And Josh said, thank you, Crypto Jones. We would love to show up live next year and have a mini live stream section to chat with founders. Yeah, mounted down next year would be awesome. Definitely do a demo day featuring MCG there. I think would be super sick. So, Jill, I'll let you take over for the next 5 minutes here, and I'll pop back on.
Yeah, for sure. So let me see if there we go. Share the screen. All right. So just a couple things we can run through while we wait for the next segment. First off, just looking at let's see here. Let me take an updated look at Sol. I feel like pretty much everything looks the same as Bitcoin, right? Like if you look at Bitcoin here, it's literally in this range, just like it was with Solana, just like it is with ETH. Like I think a lot of things are looking at pretty much the same, just kind of stuck in a range and waiting for markets to decide on a direction. Let's look at real quick, run through some of these plays. I was looking at Juno. I know we've been waiting on this to hit the DCA 2. I mean the DCA 1. It doesn't seem like it wants lower yet. I mean, it's been wicking and there's been a lot of buys here. So I might even just pitch this as a buy zone, or change this to a full-on buy zone versus a DCA 1. I'm not sure how much we see this one pull back, but it still could. It still could. Still watching that one. That's Juno. Let's see. AmberVibe we have on later today. That's kind of coming up to a buy zone. So interested to see. We marked this buy zone out yesterday on stream, so I'm interested to see, like, what the mechanics are there, what the revenue numbers are looking like, because revenue is typically the driver of price action with a lot of these agents. What else are we looking at here? What else? What else? Let's go over real quick to uh let's see here. Loria is still in the same spot. Like, a lot of things are pretty much in the same spot as they have been. Um Kelly Claude, oh my goodness, looking very nice. Still in a buy zone. So we broke out yesterday. Looks like we're now kind of uh retesting a key level. So I mean, look, probably Kelly Claude is probably gonna go crazy here pretty soon. Well, I shouldn't say soon. I don't know when it'll go crazy, but I think it's only a matter of time before markets really catch on to like the TAM that Kelly Claude is going for. In fact, there was a recent tweet. Maybe I can show that to you guys real quick. There was a recent tweet uh, about Kelly Claude. So there's this app. It's called Cal AI, and basically, like, it's a clone of another app. It's making, like, 25K a month. They have like 30,000 downloads, and basically, it was bought out by this company called MyFitnessPal. And this Cal AI was made by, like, high school students, right? And, like, so um, it just goes to show that, cloning apps, like, basically what uh, Kelly Claude is basically like a pump fund. OpenClaw is like Solana. And so, basically you're going to have all these apps being created. They have the marketing factory, which means that Kelly Claude has, like, influencers, like social media influencers, streamers, content creators that are all AI generated. And it has this pipeline of, like, marketing, and it can literally push all these products online. And so when you think about Cal AI getting acquired and making, decent money, pretty much decent money every month, because the Cal AI founder, the CEO, he says in just 18 months, we've helped millions of people lose millions of pounds, and we broke 50 million in ARR along the way. So look, you have these companies that are that are going absolutely nuts. Um, in terms of revenue that can be generated. And this still is taking a team of people and development effort to accomplish. Whereas, with this, um, this can Kelly Clark can do this in its sleep, literally. So something to keep your eye on. We have our next segment coming up here as well. So maybe we can pivot to Blasket. I think we
Sure.
have them
Real quick, we didn't
coming
really
on
do
soon.
this. Can we give a quick look at the stable chart for context? I'm not sure if you did when I was gone, but
No, actually, great idea. Let's take a look at the stable chart real
just
quick. I'll
pop that
pull
up.
it
It
up.
looked decent last I checked. But
Let's
then we'll
see
get on
here.
David from Blast Figure.
Boom. So here is the stable chart. Yeah, actually looks pretty nice. I mean, kind of bouncing off, like, literal bottom. Um, but I mean, honestly, I don't like doing TA on, like, super micro cap tokens, because anything can make this thing go crazy. They can announce that they've won the hackathon, and that could end up sending the chart or what have you. So but
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like, again, still
mhm.
no intrinsic utility to this token, but it seems like he's interested in finding something that works. So
I want to see what his thoughts are on ownership. I think he's open to the idea. And I think he wants to do something meaningful with the token. So I'm interested to see, like, where they land with that, and hopefully we can, like, connect with them, and we can tell them more. Like, the more people that are in ownership means the more people can actually um have safeguards in place and actually invest in intrinsically valuable tokens on chain.
yeah, it also seems like he hasn't sold any equity yet. So, like, setting aside some equity for an equity model also seems to be like a good option for something like this. So we'll see. Either way, let's move to Blastig real quick and get David up here and chat a bit about it. So I'm going to take down your screen and get David. David, hey, are you with us?
Yeah, I believe so. You guys can hear me well?
Sounds good.
Yep,
Yeah.
loud and clear.
Thanks for joining.
Great. Happy to be on
How's
the show,
it going?
guys. Great.
Yeah. Good to have you. Well, glad we got you on. I guess the best place to start before we like dive into Blasket, what you're building. A lot of times with the new founders that we have on the show, just best to get to know you a little bit. So yeah, just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, your background, and then we can kind of transition into exactly what you're building. Good to have you on the show.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I started as basically like really deep into like competitive gaming. Did like a YouTube channel years ago. Had like 270K subs, and from there I started my first company straight out of high school. It was this AI coaching app for gamers. It was called Rala AI. Did that for about like 16 to 18 months or so, and basically like we were doing well. We were skyrocketing users, but in the end of the day, like we were really fighting publishers the entire way up. And then after we shut down the company, I became like pretty much like crypto pilled. I entered the space like right after that, which is around like June, like summer 2025. And basically, I'd sort of seen like all the attempts at basically bringing like better deployers and like higher quality deploys into the space. And I think like when you look at that, it's like what is in the space right now? Like there was Believe, there is MetaDAO, and like there's obviously like Bags, which is like somewhat trying to tackle the issue as well. Like I know they had like a really like high quality tech deploys over like December and January, but I think all three experiments have somewhat failed in capturing like the total TAM that is possible with like tech deploys on chain. So I started building out Blasket.
Interesting. So in your opinion, what's the biggest downfall of the current setup? Like what's the specific thing that you're looking to change?
Yeah, I don't think any of these solutions tackle the permanence problem, right? I think probably the best the best solution thus far has been like virtuals, or like I guess like the AI deploys like last year. I think what's great about them is the fact that like whenever you create one of these things, right, it's like the agent lives on forever. This token is always going to live on chain, right? But no one really needs to be responsible in order to keep this thing alive, right? Something like Truth Terminal is like still tweeting today, it's still active. I know you guys were mentioning about Kelly Cloud earlier. Like these sort of like autonomous tokens are kind of cool because of the fact that like because they live on forever, you're not relying on one centralized party, whether it be a creator or a company to support the token, right? So I think if you sort of look at that as like sort of your baseline, I think it's a good place to start. But ultimately, with something like bringing better deployers on chain, you're still going to tackle this problem where like there is a centralized team involved, right? So with something like startups on chain, something like MetaDAO, right? You're ultimately not going to get like great deploys on chain because of the fact that like if somebody wants to go and start a startup, like the best way to do that is not by having like this permanent token attached to your company, right? Like you're already seeing what's happening right now with MetaDAO and Ranger, right? So really what you want is you want these things to like work autonomously, but you want them to build in value, which is why we're tackling open source, right? Basically, by traders trading the coin, right? You're creating incentive through trading fees as like in order to create a prize pool. That way it attracts more people to contribute to this thing, right? And as you get like a bigger variety of people contributing like to the project, you also capture like more ideas, that sort of thing. So it becomes like increasingly interesting.
You referenced virtuals. Are you also interested in the token being paired to like it was virtual / whatever? Is that like an interesting mechanism, or do you think that's maybe not such a good mechanism?
I think it's somewhat interesting. We're not currently exploring a token for Blasket. We really want to showcase first, our like great deployers and great deploys that are coming up on the site.
Out of curiosity, before we move on from that, real quick, why choose not to launch a token? That's very interesting to me. I just want to double click on that.
Yeah, I don't think a token is the best way to sort of like take your startup like public out the gate. I think the reason why you make a token, like when you first create something, right, is that you're able to bootstrap attention, you're able to bootstrap, in our case, labor. But in the case of like when you're making something like your core thing, like right now, Blask is a startup, right? There are other types of solutions for startups, things like MetaDAO and whatnot. But like to me, these things like aren't attractive. Versus with Blasket, right? We're really trying to target, our projects that people spin up at a hackathon or spin up as a side project, right? So like you could totally be a founder and have like your main thing, and then also have like a ton of side things that you're working on, right? That's what we sort of expect out of deploys on Blasket. We expect like your side projects to be here, things you spin up at a hackathon. And yeah, I think a lot of the time, like these can also be like really interesting projects. I don't know if you know, but like there's this one founder at, I believe it's called Pipe Dream, something like that. But he's creating this app on the side. And it's called like Create Anything. And it's like this really great like Claude harness. It basically runs like 24/7 and whatnot. I think the point being is that like people's open source work, people's side projects, people's hackathon projects could be like super valuable. But like, a lot of the time they don't have the time to continue working on these things because they do have their main thing. They have their main job, they have their main startup, something like that. And I think, even, in a lot of cases, something someone might work on, right? It might even carry like a ton of mimetic value, and it might not be like a great business, right? Take, for example, something like Maltbook, right? Somebody would never make Maltbook their main thing, right? That would never be like a business or a startup or a company. And it's because like it wouldn't make sense to, right? Like your users would not just like burn through millions of tokens just for some entertainment pleasure. It just doesn't make sense. But in terms of like mimetic value and the project being cool / interesting, spurring up conversation, it has a ton of value there, which is why it was great as a coin, but not necessarily great as a startup.
This is really, really fascinating because I think we see this example quite often, even when you look at like people's college theses or college reports that they do at the end of the year. Lots of the time, those end up not I say lots of the time, but some of the time we've seen those turn into massive companies and massive businesses. Although it kind of started as a side project, or maybe it came from a hackathon or an open source product that's difficult to monetize. So I think it's really fascinating you're dipping into that. It still kind of begs the question, though, how do these tokens have that? Because, and I circle this back because it's the first thing you mentioned. How do these tokens have these long shelf lives and lifespans to them if you're handing off the project? Or maybe I'm misunderstanding maybe the mechanisms behind what Blastig is doing.
Yeah, so what we're doing is that basically we're allocating trading fees towards contributors as well as deployers. So the idea there, right, is like, say, for example, a token comes out, great deploy / great deployer. So it runs like in the first like 20, 30 minutes or like an hour, something like that, right? And then from there, like the chart sort of like collapses a bit. There's volume on the way up, there's volume on the way down. That then incentivizes somebody else to come and contribute to the project. And then, they might, have some great ideas for like, where the project should go. Like take, for example, something like Claude, right? Or not Claude, like OpenClaw, right? How many derivatives were there of OpenClaw, right? Like there was, tons of OpenClaw derivatives on chain, even Maltbook. Like there was versions of it for like that were like Twitter clones, or versions of it that were like, Reddit clones. Like, but none of this value added back to the original project directly, right? So like we imagine basically like, say for example, somebody, deploys Maltbook, that then, incentivizes people to come along and be contributors to that project without necessarily becoming a deployer. I think being a deployer has like this like really great like social capital risk attached to it, because of the fact that like you as a deployer needs to then support this token, which exists forever, essentially forever, which is like sort of like this ridiculous social contract, right? Consider like what the financial incentive is there. And it basically attracts all these people who otherwise wouldn't have been deployers or are happy to be contributors, bring in like their great ideas for like what Maltbook could be.
Yeah, I think where I see this super interesting is I think of like open source projects, and I think Bags kind of hit this on the head a little bit when they were when we saw GSD launch, when we saw Ralph launch, and some of these open source projects. I think before, these guys had no way of getting funding for their open source projects. And I think we've seen a really interesting like case study where it's like, okay, if we have an open source project and we can get fees and funds from that now, we can accelerate the growth of this open source by maybe taking some of these fees, some of this money, and paying out contributors, and then greatly accelerating this open source if we can make it a thing of the people. Now, how do we actually drive value back with token? Does that mean tying some sort of equity or revenue model or dividends like back to the contributors and the people that support it, the people that hold the token? Like, that question is still, I think, up in the air. But we saw a fascinating case study where it's like, okay, wait a minute, we can really accelerate open source projects, which otherwise would have never gotten funding. How do you guys look at that?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think all open source projects should tie together some financial incentive. You saw, like, even in the case of like OpenClaw, right? It's like, Peter Steinberger, there were rumors going around that, like, he made maybe, 7, 8, 9 figures even, from his employment over at OpenAI. But like, what happened to all the contributors, right?
Yeah.
They brought in their ideas, that they helped maintain the project, all of these things, and they didn't really get paid out anything. And then on the other side of things, I think that all tech projects on chain should eventually be open source. So I think it goes both ways.
So kind of like an Elon Musk thesis where it's open source everything. And then, well, how does Blasket now solve the problem of getting these contributors paid if there was a situation here like we saw with OpenAI and OpenClaw, the acquisition there?
Yeah, I think the idea is that, if it is the official project, really what these tokens are a proxy of attention. And I think that goes for the case of, OpenClaw wasn't acquired, right? Like Peter Steinberger,
right.
Like, he was employed. He is the proxy of OpenClaw. But I think the idea is that like the true proxy of OpenClaw should have been the coin had it been, launched attached to the repo, right? Had that been the case, I think people would have considered it that way.
Interesting. Well, how do you continuously drive value back to, again, the token holders and the contributors there? Is that something you've solved for?
Yeah, I think the idea is that you want to make every open source project everyone's thing, right? Like, you want people to be tweeting about like, hey, I made this change to, this open source repo. Here's how the feature looks. Here's how it demos. They post a video about it. They tweet about it. They tweet about how much they made from their contribution, right? I think the idea there is that by making every open source project everyone's thing, they want to share about it, and then as a result, the token becomes a proxy for the project because of the fact that like the token is what allows contributors to be paid out. And then I think in addition to that, like, you're definitely familiar with like contracts on like Kalshi or Polymarket, where like the yes outcome is sort of like ridiculous, right? It's like somebody runs across the football field at the Super Bowl, right? I think the idea there is that if somebody were to plan to contribute to a project, they could go and like also just buy up supply beforehand. And that would be like, totally legal. Like, they can go and do that and then, start pushing their changes, tell their followers about it. And then they would capture the financial upside, not just from token fees, but also from, the price of the coin moving.
So do you think that financial upside, in terms of if this ever returns revenue generating, or I don't know if open source really can even get acquired like that, but if there ends up being some sort of financial outcome from this, like, would there be an upside for the holders, or other than just like token being a proxy?
I think that's the whole point, right? I think software is becoming a public good because of the fact that now it's becoming so much easier to create. So in a world where software is like super easy to create and building the business is really the tough part, I think startups should continue pursuing, revenue and profits and whatnot. But I think really the point of Blasket and open source in general is to introduce like really interesting ideas into the world. I think the point of Blasket is to financially incentivize that.
Interesting. Cool question from Josh from MCG. Are you guys using Meteora for your AMM here, or dynamic?
We are.
Curve? Okay. How did you guys make that decision? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, Meteora is pretty great. Easy to use. You can plug it in like really quickly. I mean, we have a ton that we're trying to manage on our side, right? Our agent, which is reviewing PRs, getting those fees back to contributors fairly and whatnot. Basically trying to prevent prompt injections, all these different things. So just having Meteora on, like, to be able to host our curve on It just allows us to abstract away so much complexity that would otherwise be there.
I guess a question that I had was, so I'm just trying to like frame this mentally. So you have these like open source deployers come, they launch tokens. These tokens are a proxy of attention that can kind of like drive all these other aspects of the open source project, right? It can attract people that can contribute, things of that nature. I guess the part that I had a question on was, how are the token holders looking at the token? Is it just more of like a trading vehicle? Is it more of like a way to get like some sort of upside in the open source project in some way? Like, how are they supposed to think about the token itself?
Yeah, I mean, we're not trying to do something like startups on chain, right? Like to define the upside of open source. Like what is the actual positive outcome of an open source project like doing well, right? If you try to define that, I mean, open source can't be acquired, right? Like Linux cannot be acquired, OpenClaw can't be acquired, Moltbook can't be acquired. But like what really makes these projects interesting is the fact that they draw in so much attention as it is. So if you sort of layer on top, this incentive for contributors to come along and like actually bring greater value to the project, what that value looks like isn't necessarily a financial outcome for the project, as maybe like on-chain startups would have. What the actual upside looks like is bringing greater attention to the project. And attention as a proxy for tokens is something that I think traders are like plenty familiar with already with like memes.
Got it. Can we talk a bit about BD? I mean, this is the big question here. I think we see a lot of people competing in the launchpad space. And the question is, how do you get these quality deployers to actually come and use your launchpad? What kind of incentives do you have? What are you doing in terms of just attracting these deployers?
Yeah, we're doing a couple of things. So first, the idea is that you want to sort of reduce the social capital that's burned by deploying a token, right? So we do two things here. First, the responsibility is diffused across everyone, right? So anyone can come along and contribute to one of these projects. You're not tied down to one developer, one deployer, one company. In order for the performance of the coin to do well, right? Take for example something like Believe. Like even Believe is like an actual startup and whatnot. Semi competent team, but like they made a ton of mistakes, right? And even people who are token holders of say the Believe coin, they got wrecked because of the fact that like they were basically tied down to the ship and they didn't really have a say in what they did. I think a ton of people in the community had tons of ideas for like what Believe should do, what they should be, etc. But at the end of the day, they just ended up killing off the product, right? So here in this case, you have like this permanent existing token, and the startup didn't permanently exist, right? So that burns the social capital of both the company and the people working at the company, and you don't want that. So what we tried tackling first was like solving the permanence problem. So first off, it's like responsibility is diffused across contributors and the deployer if you choose to deploy publicly, but you can also choose to deploy anonymously, right? So if you have a project that you made at a hackathon or some side project you're working on, you can totally go ahead and deploy that anonymously, and then be a contributor as soon as that project has gone public, right? So then in that case, instead of being like a one-of-one deployer, you're one of many contributors.
So it really is putting ideas out there. Ideally, you have the idea plus some sort of like actual infrastructure underneath already built out. But I really do like the concept of, okay, I have this idea, let me deploy, let me contribute a little bit, and people can kind of pick it up as they see fit. Let's say it's early stages. There hasn't been a lot of volume traded on it, so people aren't going to make any money from contributing. Do you see a future where people just contribute because they actually are just interested in the idea and they want to see it grow before there are any fees to be made? And would there be some sort of backlog of fees when they are earned? How does that work?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I like on GitHub right now, what we're doing is that we're basically, for every single PR that's reviewed, we're like linking the site and we're basically saying like, hey, like you have rewards, like you can claim them on this site, right? So say for example, somebody decides to take, a repo that's already, that already has contributors and whatnot public through Blastgit. What will happen is that basically all of these PRs, will be one automatically reviewed, so the repo is basically autonomously maintained. But then on top of that, right, all of these contributors are then onboarded, via the GitHub social graph, by being able to claim fees for projects they've been contributing to, right, that have gone public through Blasket.
Got it. You have this tweet out here. It says software is easier to prototype than it is to maintain and monetize. Blastgit solves this. Can you maybe just dive into your thought process there? I think it's a valid point, to be honest. And we're in such an interesting place with software and the advancement of AI. It's happening so fast. But talk to me a little bit about this tweet and what you were thinking there.
Yeah, I think the time now to go from zero to like a really interesting prototype is like quickly falling because of vibe coding and cloud code and whatnot.
Yeah.
But building a really great software business is still really tough. So like we want to basically take you from like prototype to monetization as fast as possible, and the fastest way to do that is through a coin.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. On that note too, can you tell us a little bit about when we're expecting to see some deploys from this? How does that wait list look? I saw you on your Twitter as well. I'll pull it up. You had a wait list going. Can you talk about when this is set to go live here?
Yeah, we have some pretty great deploys coming up. Don't want to be too specific. We want to basically like we're doing a lot right now to sort of combat sniping and snipers and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, we have some pretty cool projects coming up. We'll be tweeting more about them soon.
And where can people trade these? Through the platform specifically, or is this going to be, just anywhere you can?
Through any sort of trading bot or wallet, Phantom, Axiom, GMGN, that sort of thing.
Cool. Okay. Chill, I know you got something, but one last question. Do you have any timing on when these deploys should start rolling out?
Yeah, I mean, they'll be rolling out probably within the next few days. We have more to do on like the anti-sniping side, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I actually didn't have a question there. That was mine. Oh. But no, I think I had all my questions kind of pretty much answered. I don't know about you, Dom.
No, I think that covered it. But David, maybe a quick piece on Z Fellows. I saw you have Z Fellows in your bio. Can you tell us a bit about that and just like your relationship there, how that experience was?
Yeah, I mean, Z Fellows are great. Guys over at Z Fellows are great. The program is great. Did them a few years ago, right before starting my first company. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Well, I think we covered everything. Maybe leave us off with a bit of just future vision, what you guys are planning to do next, roadmap, and kind of just where things are headed here from now.
Yeah, I mean, with our first deploy, without saying too much about it, we hope that it diffuses, not only across CT, but like across, typical tech Twitter. It's a really great project, in my opinion. Yeah, I think that like in the bull case, it's like, this is sort of like a general use product that people like genuinely are using and contributing to, outside of even Blastgit. I think Blastgit is just sort of like that layer where it's like, it's basically showing what a positive outcome could look like for an open source project that goes viral. Basically imagine if OpenClaw had released the token alongside it. That's sort of the idea around the first launch.
Love that. Crypto Jones has a great question here. Will this eventually become permissionless, or is it always going to be curated?
Yeah, no, it'll eventually become permissionless.
Okay, thank you. Lastly, you said hand off your project. Is there a reason you chose this terminology rather than like launch a token for your project, or use the handoff specifically here? It's just different than we see from a lot of launch pads. Curious.
Yeah, because ultimately, it's no longer your project whenever you tokenize it on Blastgit. Because like when you decide to tokenize it on Blastgit, it becomes everyone's project, right? Anyone can go contribute to it. So then, the responsibility of the project is everyone's.
It does really do an interesting job of taking away that stigma of deploying a token and being like you said, socially locked into that token for now the rest of your life. I think we will see a lot of cool ideas spin up if you can like put them out there, have people contribute, and not have to necessarily be the person bearing the entire token, like the entire token's fate on your back. So it is a fascinating concept, and I think you've done a good job explaining to us today, David.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll be sure to keep up with you. DMs are always open. We want to chat about this, see how we can help. And this is a fascinating concept. So we'll leave it at that. And hopefully we can talk to you soon once you have a few launches come out and cover some of those.
Sounds good. Happy to be on the show today. Happy to come on again. Great talking with you guys.
Thanks, David. Appreciate you.
Much appreciated.
You as well.
Peace. That is a pretty cool concept.
That's interesting, man. That's like I'm still wrapping my mind around it, but I think the biggest takeaway, at least for me, was like, especially there at the end, where it's like, it's not just one person. It's not like you deploy a token and it's the quote unquote dev's responsibility. It's like everyone's.
It kind of takes CTO to a whole nother level. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, really interesting. I would
I'm
imagine.
interested to see how their tokens, like, because it's all about how the market prices your stuff, right? Like, if the market's interested in it, it'll perform well. I want to see what the market says with
Yeah.
these deploys, like how, because we're essentially rewiring the social contract around tokens with this platform. That's essentially what they're trying to do, because the contract is whoever deploys it, it's on you to
Right.
to make sure that token is good. But he's now kind of taking a different approach. I want to see, how does the market feel about that? You know?
Yeah, and a few things on this too. If you can launch a token or deploy, I guess, hand off your project here, and you actually get a ton of meaningful contributors, again, that really accelerates growth of a
Mhm.
product. If we start to see that, I could see it go mainstream in the sense that anyone that has a project that wants to just have it grow faster, have people contribute to it, naturally do something like this. So I can see the vision. I'm not completely sold on the token being a proxy just to attention. I think
That's the part for me that I was like still having questions about. I was like, because
I
it's
do
like
think
I
there needs to be
get,
some financial
yeah.
upside for the holders and long-term believers. Again, and for these open source, sometimes they never make money. Sometimes they're more of just like public goods. But just to feel like you have some sort of ownership in the outcome, I think is something these holders do want. Um, so that's the only thing I'd be curious to see how it works out on. But I'm sold on the idea, I think.
I have a take that might not be that well received. I think that Pump Fun launched and everybody saw that Pump Fun immediately became one of the, like, the most one of the highest revenue generating protocols in the space. And so after Pump Fun, just like in times past, with whether it was Ohm forks or whether it was Tomb forks or whether it was um uh, GMX forks, like we saw this, endless forking of the same idea, the same launchpad idea that didn't really like get innovated on in any particular way. um and I feel like there are platforms out there that you can kind of like play with the words and say, "Oh, well, you can say it's tokenized attention, or you can say it's on-chain startups with in the case of Believe, like, but it's essentially the same thing. It's the same, just launchpad structure similar to Pump Fun, and it's just the narrative around it. They might be engineering that narrative differently, and without an ownership structure, I feel like any launchpad that doesn't have like some level of ownership tied to it. It doesn't have to be the full meta DAO level, but something where there's, number one, safeguards for holders, upside for holders, and then also accountability for those who create the token. Now, with what they're doing is they're innovating on one side where they're saying, you know, through a narrative, they're engineering like, hey, it's not just the devs token, it's everyone's token. So I guess there's one side of that. But what I want to see is, okay, like where's the other side? Like how different are you than someone like a Pump Fund?
Yeah, I think they're doing things to differentiate, but I do
Yeah.
think generally on launch pads, you're pretty much on the right track. Interested in this though. I'm really fascinated by the concept, so we'll see
Yeah.
how it plays out.
I'm gonna be watching them to see like how like any launch pad that comes along, like I watch all of them. I think, MetaDAO has innovated a ton in that sector. Like obviously with Futarki and stuff like that. I think MetaDAO has like probably the cleanest setup. And I can't wait for them to go permissionless, because now when we talk about like utility projects and stuff like that, like literally just launch it on MetaDAO on their permissionless platform, and that becomes a more quote unquote safer project, because there's now again accountability, there's upside for holders, and then there's safeguards for holders. So I want to see how things go with them. It's all again, it's all in how the market is pricing it. So, if these deploys take off, markets, like the narrative, then for sure. But definitely gonna keep it on the watch
Yeah,
list.
keeping it on the watch list. I do like the branding of this blast
Yeah,
Git, kind of ties in like the GitHub and like launching it,
yeah.
blasting it into acceleration. I like the feel. So we'll see. That was a cool little segment.
Crypto Jones, I agree with Chill. The treasury with governance funded by a percentage of trading fees should be the norm at the very least. Yes, I think it's about time for us as like whether we want to say as an industry or as a cohort of traders, like we are in control of what these markets price, and because we're the ones trading them, we're the ones buying and selling at the end of the day. So I feel like the standard across the board, especially if you're a person that likes utility, should be like a futarki on MetaDAO. You know what I mean? Like even with Ranger Finance, and maybe we give ourselves a few minutes before the MetaDAO interview to get into the Ranger Finance stuff, or if you want to go through it now, we can.
No, totally up to you. We have about 10 minutes till the next segment here with Amber Vibe. So cover whatever you want to. Like you said, we'll give ourselves a few minutes before the MetaDAO segment, or we can even talk through this with Prophet himself on on Ranger, because it seems like the price of this has changed. It was 0.667 cents, I think, for there if it passed. Now it's up at 0.71. So I got to look into this a little bit, but maybe run through some stuff you have saved up and ready to go, and we can pop this on closer to the minute Dow segment.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, so that being said, the other what else do we have? So one other thing that I wanted to talk a little bit about was the let's see here. Looking. Did you see the article that Kobisi did on and then I also have something I want to tee up for Amber Vibe. But real quick, did you see the article that Kobisi letter did on AI?
I
I don't
didn't,
know.
dude.
No. All right, dude. This is actually a pretty massive article. It's kind of
I saw
changing
the
my
one they did
worldview a
on the
little
Strait
bit.
of Hormuz recently, which was good, but not AI. How recent was this?
It was like maybe a week ago, but it just kind of like went under the radar, in my opinion. I don't think I saw a lot of people talk about it. But I
Wait,
got it
oh,
pulled
wait a
up.
minute. Was this in response to the fear mongering article we saw from Centrini?
Yeah, like it's too obvious. What if AI doesn't actually end the world?
Yes, I have seen this one. You can talk us through. I got to run to the bathroom again really quick. I just slammed some rehydration packets. It's gonna
No,
be
you're
like that this
good.
entire stream. So
You're
hold it down
you're
for the next
good.
5.
So chat, this is basically what Kobe's letter talks about is what if AI doesn't actually end the world? Obviously, they kind of go through that the overall consensus view is that AI is going to eat industries, is going to lead to layoffs, and it's going to basically leave all these workers kind of sidelined, right? And so it just kind of gets to this point where, well, if everyone thinks that's the case, will it actually play out like that? Because usually, if the market has predominantly one view, it doesn't typically play out that way. It plays out some other way. And so basically, what he says here is he talks about how there is the AI, how AI and the proliferation of AI solutions, AI agents, it will actually cause a change in the demand for certain products and services. And so and this is the part that's really the biggest part of the article. He basically says the bearish loop creates a simplified linear model. AI gets better, businesses reduce headcount and wages, then buying drops, businesses invest in AI again to defend their margins, and the downward cycle repeats. But what he says is like he kind of compares this a little bit to the proliferation of PCs. So back when personal computers were like first introduced back in the 80s, you know, it was something that was expensive to implement. But as the price went lower and lower, now there's billions of PCs that have been installed worldwide. So he kind of draws that comparison to basically say as AI decreases costs in every sector. And when services costs go down, purchasing power increases with or without wage growth. So what he's saying is AI is basically going to AI is going to fix the cost of services, or is going to reprice, not fix, it will reprice the cost of services. And as that cost goes down, we'll see other things start to be built on top of it. So that could actually work as a benefit for everyone. Just like, personal computers, they went down 99% cheaper. So now everyone can have a computer. Same thing with AI. As it reprices service costs down, now that means people can buy more stuff, right? Like, although your wages might stay the same or potentially go down, your purchasing power, versus these services will actually increase. So the last paragraph here says, well, the doom loop becomes dominant only if AI replaces labor without materially expanding demand. The optimistic scenario emerges if cheaper compute and productivity yields entirely new categories of consumption and economic activity. And he says what this all leads to is price collapse. So as AI takes over things like healthcare administration, legal documentation, tax preparation, compliance, marketing, coding, customer service, as all these services get repriced, we could see like these um, 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 we could see the cost of these services go down, and then we could see the demand for these services actually go up. And so what he says here is, if cost of running a business falls, small businesses become more attainable, and if the cost of accessing services falls, more households participate. So now you can kind of draw in more consumers because your price is now lower. And then he said, in this way, AI advances can function as an invisible tax cut. I think that was very interesting. I think that's the most important line out of this entire article. AI can drive this tax cut that takes place, and it doesn't require um, incomes to go up because the prices of everything else falls anyway, right? And so he goes through a lot of this stuff, and perhaps like a restructuring of labor markets, like, just of a new way of how people work and consume, and a new wave of like economic activity. So a very bullish article here on the future of AI and how that could potentially play out. And I think that there's a host of ramifications for that, not only for consuming and consumers and workers in the economy, but I think that's also meaningful, in terms of what we can see in markets as well. So yeah. So that was an interesting article I wanted to cover with you guys from the Kabisi letter. That's actually pretty crazy. AI can drive forward essentially a tax cut, if you will.
I'm glad you covered that because that was released shortly after the Centrini article dropped, and everyone was saying, this is so bearish. They were blaming the IBM or some software stocks crashes on Centrini, which I think is more of an excuse. But yeah, this was an obvious response to it because I think just a lot of people were taking that at face value and were really doing their own thinking on the subject. So thank you for covering that, Chill. I would say we can probably bounce over to AmberVibe from this point. We get a
Yeah,
few
let
minutes
me
early.
let me share something quick on Amber to lead into the interview. So, well, I think I might have shared this earlier this week as well, but I'll share this one more time. But basically, this is why Amber got on my radar, was because of the revenue generation. As you can see, it's was kind of holding below 3,000, below 2,000 in revenue generated until on Monday. The
Wow.
revenue absolutely exploded. And why did it explode? The agent explains that the dev, Ben, closed a deal this morning to install a full AI agent automation set for the finance department of an SME in the UK, with basically over 7K already settled. The agent continues to say, I'm now briefed on all of the dashboards that the team requires. Installation begins week installation begins week commencing 16th of March. So basically, it closed a whole new deal, and it closed a whole new deal, and the revenue is starting to tick up here for this agent. And basically, what Amber is a it's a stream, like um it's like an it's like a streamer. It's I'm gonna go to the website, but it's basically like this online influencer, if you will, that also vibe codes. So basically it's a live streamer, it's a vibe coder, but it's all automated via an AI agent. And you can see here on the treasury, they actually have the same treasury that we are just looking at. They broke 10,000 on Monday, and obviously Tuesday hasn't finished, but so far they have now generated 1/10 of that today. But as you can see, the revenue is ticking up, and I think we have him kind of in the waiting room here shortly. So real quick before we get him up, I'm just going to share the chart on this because it's also coming to an attractive place on the chart. Let's see here. So here's the AmberVibe chart. We talked about this on Monday. This was the buy zone that we had marked out, and it's coming towards it. So interested to see as we go through this interview, just kind of what will continue to drive revenue for Amber, because that's the main thing that the market is paying attention to. But also, what's the TAM? Like, we'll get some more details about the deal that was closed. What other potential deals could come down the pipeline, stuff like that. So very, very interested in seeing that. But we can pull him up.
Sure,
if,
let's get Ben
if
up
we
here
want.
real quick, Chill. Though, like we're starting to see these AI agents really come on here and consistently make money, and it's
Yeah.
like a trend that we're seeing happen now. There are a few examples of this experiment going on, but it's really crazy to see this just kind of taking over. So we'll get Ben's take on the whole situation, and then talk a bit about Amber. So, Ben, the man, the myth, the legend, how you doing?
Hello, hello. How you doing? Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I love the setup, man. It looks like you're in some sort of like spaceship back there or something.
It's just lights in the background. It's dark here, so yeah, I'm and I've got a sports club jersey behind me, and yeah, I'm in my I'm in my spaceship, and I'm building out, and I'm really delighted that you guys asked me to come up. It's been really interesting listening to you guys there for the last 15-20 minutes, and I got a lot of time for the show you're putting on. I've been paying attention for a couple of weeks now, and it's great to see what you're doing.
Wow,
I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased you invited me up.
That's a lot of love. We appreciate that. Let's just start here. We're seeing this emergence of like these experiments with AI going and starting their first, zero human company, AI completely controlled company, AI doing all these tasks. High level, what are you seeing going on right now from a firsthand perspective of these AI agents being able to start generating meaningful revenue?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. Look, I'll level with you guys. I had absolutely no intention of going down the token route whatsoever. I have been building in Web3 for some time. I run a prediction market that we're building, which is completely sports focused. I've been present since 2021 in the space. I've worked with Rug Radio, Decrypt, ApeChain, Zebek,
nice.
like a number of super rare, a number of really interesting platforms, particularly on like the creator economy. And then more recently, I've been paying attention to what's been going on in AI. And I didn't want to become like another AI bro, like, oh, yeah, I'm vibe coding, man. Like, what I wanted to do was understand what an AI agent could do to make the life of a content creator or an entrepreneur, digital entrepreneur, easier. And so I picked up the Mac Mini when it was all going off. I interviewed Alex Finn about a year ago. And so I hit him up and just asked him for the quick setup. And he recommended I do it. And I set my agent up, and I called it Amber. And then the banker bros launched a token and assigned it to me, and I realized about half an hour later. So I completely missed that bit of it. But let me just touch on what you asked there, which is what's going on and how's this working. Look, this isn't some kind of like silver bullet where you switch a computer on and ask it to go make you $1 million and then sit back and watch. Like, this is actually a significant amount of work that goes into building out the AI as you want it, and attributing the appropriate skills to it, and then thinking creatively about how it can generate revenue with you. And what's been really interesting is I have tried 2 tacts with Amber. One is where I've tried to sell her time, which is the $29.95 a month subscription that people can buy. And I've had, I think, about close to 30 of those taken, which is amazing. Really, really grateful. But the other one was her idea, which was how she could sell my time. And so what she's done is created 2 products. One is enterprise level, where we can reach out to businesses and help them with their setup. And I landed a big one of those yesterday, which is what you were speaking about just before. And the other one is for $8.99 a month. $8.99 one-off fee. I will sit in a Google Meets call with you for 2, 3, 4 hours, and I'll hold your hand while you set up your OpenClaw agent. And I'll give you a whole bunch of markdown files that will help you out. And that has been incredible. I've had like 8 of those sell. So I set up Amber to try save me time, and actually what she's done is sell more of my time to the extent where I'm having to really rethink the strategy. And I can come around to that in a minute. But it's been fascinating to watch. I think the entire like AI agent economy is literally just getting going. I think the likes of Felix, Juno, the work that I'm putting in, and I've seen a couple of others following as well, are at the forefront of it. But I actually think there are going to be some like AI agent unicorns. I can see, $1 million, $10 million, $100 million businesses being formed literally through the assimilation between a person and their agent.
So Ben, my question is, what allows an agent to differentiate from the rest? Obviously, it takes a lot of time, feeding it and communicating with it back and forth, just getting it down to do exactly what you want to. But now we have a few examples of these agents making money. And at some point, not everyone can have an agent just printing it unlimited money, right? So like, what differentiates your agent from a lot of the other people that say, hey, I'm going to start my agent that's going to, print money?
I think it's about the creativity of the person that's managing the agent. And I don't want to sit here now and just be like, oh, like, aren't I clever? Not at all. Because I'm making it up as I go along, truly. But about 6 weeks ago, I had 3 calls in concurrent nights from 3 people who are not at all in the industry that we work in. All of them call me to say, Ben, you were talking about AI in 2022 when all of us thought you were crazy, and we had that. We hired a cottage together and a villa together and went away on holiday for a bit, and I was showing them Midjourney and what it could do right in primitive Midjourney times. You understand how all this shit works. How can I make my job easier? And actually I had a call today with a significant C-suite member of a layer 2 chain, and he said the same to me, and he was like, the biggest opportunity out there at the moment for anyone, but particularly anyone with like a technical background who can articulate what they want from a developer, and have taste, is the implementation of AI for small, medium enterprises that don't understand what to do with it, but recognize the opportunity. It's the single biggest opportunity in the world right now. If you don't know what to do with yourself, learn how to get good on AI, and then go call every single business in every single town, in your city or in your town, in your area, and tell them that you understand it and that you can help them implement it. Because from a consultation perspective, it is massive. So I have set Amber up with a view to help people learn how to integrate AI into their lives. And so her primary product is her subscription model. And what we're doing is, as we make Amber better, she is adjusting her markdown files, and then she's taking all of her subscribers through an 18-question questionnaire where she attributes an archetype to their agent, and then provides markdown files that are driven by the answers that were given from the 18 questions, so that they can create an agent that does what they want it to do based on the questionnaire they've completed. And she'll continue to add skills and markdown files that talk about the soul, the sessions, the intention of that agent, so that someone who is completely new to this, zero code, can pick up those markdown files, attach them to the agent that they've just set up, and they'll have an agent that they can at least start to work with and start trying to figure this stuff out. But truly, to generate revenue, you need to just think creatively about, like, what does the world need right now? And right now, when you're talking about AI, the world needs to understand how it works.
So Benjamin, you've said something that I think is really interesting, and it's starting to become, I think, a thesis amongst many. We see Mark Cuban has been going and saying, hey, automate AI for small businesses. Like, there's a big gap there where you just have these brick and mortar, these boomer businesses that just haven't fully adopted AI. Maybe it's too early to tell, but my thesis is we kind of see the AI consultations, AI implementations in small business as like the next drop shipping, right? Maybe like
100%.
Yeah. You think
I
you would
completely agree with you. 100%. And so the gig that I picked up, $7,300, it's £6,000 in the UK yesterday, which is what sent the token into a spin. Yeah, amazing. I probably should have charged more. I've realized subsequently. I met the MD of a really interesting food cooperative in the UK. So he owns a cooperative, lots of farmers and producers create lots of food. It all comes into the middle, and then he distributes it through supermarkets, shops, restaurants, all the rest of it. Okay. I met him on Saturday at a friend's house, chatting away. I told him a bit about what I did. He told me that at the moment, that his business is literally run by farmers and producers manually inputting into spreadsheets. And then he has a team of like 10 people that take that manual process and feed it into databases and dashboards so that he's able to update pricing and availability to multiple sources. And I told him about the dashboard that I had made that shows Amber's income and her treasury. And the treasury is based on the fees that she's collecting via the token, and the income is based on the revenue that's generated and validated on Stripe. And he was like, how long did that take you to do? And I said, I found a good dashboard on the web that I like the look of. I screenshot it. I fed it to her, told her what I needed. She and I have a place where we vibe code already. The URL took me about 15 minutes to connect up via Cloudflare. I needed to create a Superbase database, which I've done a few times, doesn't take long to do at all. And about 45 minutes later, it was ready to go. And it looked like that like from a taste perspective, if you get a good flow and you're able to provide enough examples to your agent of the things that you like, they get really good at knowing at having good taste. And so if you click on, I'm not sure who's driving here, but if you click on Treasury, I basically showed this guy that, and he looked at it and said, so if I've got databases, you could train and APIs to the databases, you could train an agent to distribute data and dashboards to people all over. And I said, yeah, and you could have email alerts every 6 hours based on what the dashboard says that tells someone to go check the dashboard out because there's been a change or whatever. And that was the end of the telephone call, end of the conversation, sorry. Sunday, I had a call from him. He rang me and said, I want you to come over to the office on Monday, tomorrow. Have you got time? Can you do it? I can't stop thinking about what you showed me. So I was like, so that was the first clue. I should have charged this motherfucker more money, but I knew of him already, and he was a friend of a friend, and it was a really good exercise for me. So I went in and I saw him, and he said, I cannot stop thinking about this because I think that you can save me a lot of money. And I said, you need to just realize that if we do this, you're probably going to lay off like a bunch of people. And he said, no, I'm going to redeploy them. I have got work that needs doing everywhere, and I've got 5 people who are spending time doing this shit, which is not what they need to be. They need to be going and negotiating, and they need to be going and, meeting new farmers and setting new standards and finding new products and, all of that stuff. And instead what they're doing is manually entering data in so that they can distribute pricing. It's a waste of everyone's time. And I said, okay, well, I think you'll find that we can probably get one of your people to become the absolute master of the agent that we create, and probably do everything that you're doing in a week in a morning. And he said, how much is it going to cost me? And I said, well, there's two fees. It's going to cost you X amount if you want 30 days, but if you pay it upfront today, and I can add it to my treasury and income spreadsheet, it's going to cost you £6,000. And he fucking paid it.
Jeez.
Then, there and then.
What's the quick question on this? Like, what's the ROI for a lot of these companies for adding custom workflows to them? Like, let's say he pays 6-7K, you know, now he gets to redistribute workers. Is this something you've thought about? Like, what's the return on investment on that, and how much value is there for these people?
So I don't know the question offhand right now, but I have asked him if I can continue to work with him and use him as a case study, because I think it's a really interesting business model. His business turns over, so not quite £50 million a year turnover. It doesn't make nearly that much in profit, but in terms of like throughput and cash flow, it's a big business. And when he was asking me how I did it, and I spoke about like connecting up Claude, and that he really wants to be using Claude Opus 4.6 from a coding perspective and Sonnet 4.6 from a reasoning perspective, he looked at me like I was speaking fucking Swahili to him. He had absolutely no idea. And so I was like, so this is the Anthropic LLM as opposed to ChatGPT. And he was like, oh, I understand. I know what ChatGPT is. And I was like, cool. And what version of it are you using? And he was like, the free version. Like, this is a dude who is the MD of a huge company that turns over £50 million a year and generates, you know, 7 figures of profit. And the guy has absolutely no idea what's going on. And I think that's when, you know, when you see Mark Cuban talking about the opportunity, I saw a really cool graphic the other day which showed the world population based on squares of 3.2 million people. And only one of those squares is red, because that's who's actually using the stuff properly to generate. Graph. Yeah, it's a really good graph. And it just shows like it's fish in a barrel. If you get your shit together and you can go out and you can present something credible that shows ROI, it's a great question, by the way. And I wish I had an answer where I could turn around to you and just be like, boom. In realistic terms, he's probably got 5 employees that are on about £40,000 a year that he's now going to be able to go distribute accordingly. My guess is he'll probably end up letting go of 2 or 3 of them because he doesn't need them to do that much work, which is a shame, but it's kind of life. It's what happens. That's the graph. That was absolutely fantastic. That's the size of the opportunity. Even the people in green are the people who have just like played with ChatGPT free version. The people in yellow are the people that are like taking it a little bit more seriously. The people in red are the people who I imagine are watching this like show right now. And the people who are really building and who are working with OpenClaw agents and
0.04%.
Dude,
2 to 5 million uses coding scaffold.
Honestly, man, like it's nothing. And I tell you, I don't know if you guys know G-Man. He was quite a prominent person in the space. I mean, he still is. He's an absolute legend. But when it was kind of like NFTs, Web3 period, he was a guy to know. And he and I talk regularly. He's a bit of a mentor. And he tried to get me to Vibe Code. When did he try to get me to Vibe Code? January 25. And I looked at what he was saying to me in terms of like setting up Codex, connecting it to this, make sure you're adding there, thinking about how you connect your URL there. I am not a coder. I am not that technical. I'm an entrepreneur. I had a business in the UK that I sold out when COVID happened because it exploded. It was food related. And, you know, subsequently I've been working in and around the space because I'm entrepreneurial and I enjoy that kind of stuff. What I am good at, and I recognize I am good at, is articulating what I want and understanding the parameters that it can be built in. So I can talk dev to a dev, and I can talk output to someone who needs the output. That's always been my strength in life. And I think we are the next. I couldn't do vibe coding when G-Man tried to show me vibe coding. Now I can, because it's fixed up enough that all you have to do is articulate what it is you want to see, and the agent will take care of the nuts and bolts. It was really funny when I spoke to G-Man and I showed him this last week. He said to me, cool, what's it built in? I said, I don't know. I've got no fucking. I don't know. I don't know what it's built in. She built it, dude. I just know that it works. So it's very interesting the way things are going at the moment.
So I have a couple questions. I'll let Dom, if just in case you want to
Rip through 'em, Joe. Rip through
finish
'em.
this. Okay, so huge opportunity here. You kind of sit between, the dev and the other side. Dev and clients, dev and customers. Now you find yourself in a position where you can sit between an AI and the outcome. You can articulate the idea. So for someone that wants to do that, that wants to, I don't know, go the Mark Cuban route and pitch small businesses in your area and AI pill them with some stuff. Where's the best place to start in your opinion? Is it somewhere like an AmberVibe, booking some time with her or with you, or like where's the best place to start? Because it's interesting that you're coming from a non-code background.
Yeah, really interesting. And I see you're touching on the 6 archetypes there. I would implore anyone who is interested and hasn't taken the thing yet, even if they go pay the $29.95 once and then cancel the subscription, like I'm cool, I'm okay with it. To take the 18-question questionnaire to then see what kind of agent they're going to create, to then understand what kind of markdown files they'll receive. Right now, if you are into this, I think you need to be a couple of things. One is you need to be tech literate. So if to set up an OpenClaw agent, you need to be familiar with like what it means to work in the terminal of a PC or a desktop or a laptop or whatever. That can be a little bit overwhelming for some people, and I get it. But I think what's really important is that you experiment with all of the things that are coming out as they're coming out, and that you keep up to date. Like, I find it's crazy. Who said yesterday? Someone said, I can't remember who it was, but someone was like, it was OSF, I think, who said, you are at maybe Zeneca, you are at such a disadvantage if you don't have X right now when it comes to this stuff, because the pace at which things are coming out, like yesterday, the Quen LLMs that you can now run,
Wild.
Absolutely insane, man. Like you can literally run open source LLMs on your device without the requirement for internet on an iPhone 17, and it will be as good as Sonnet 3.5 was, which is an 8-month-old LLM that everyone was vibe coding with, and now you could just run that on your iPhone and never have to pay for it. Like, so the pace that things are moving at is incredible. To answer your question, because I've kind of skirted around it a little bit, I think you need to be super curious. I think you need to keep on top of it. And if I were starting again now, I would reach out to a credible source and ask for a proper demonstration. But that's because I'm a bit of a boomer. I'm 42 years old, and I like to be shown something before I then do it. There will be some people who are just like, throw fucking caution to the wind and just start playing, look it up on YouTube or whatever. And that's cool too. I think we're getting to a stage where you can burn through a lot of credits and you can start again 3, 4, 5 times because you fucked it up, that you can avoid if you just go reach out to someone who's done it already. And now I've done like 6.
So I'll be booking some time with you.
You're very welcome, dude. Like,
yeah,
like hit me up. You don't need to spend $900, I promise you.
Well, and the interesting thing is, I feel like that's kind of the target audience, right? You're targeting those people that have small businesses. They don't really want to spend a bunch of time really learning the ins and outs. They got some money to maybe just throw towards getting this done, one-time fee. And like that seems to be the people you're really looking at. When I think about, you're always like, picks and shovels. You want to get the picks and shovels, sell the picks and shovels for the gold rush. And, Shopify was, for example, a big benefactor of like the drop shippers, right? You went out, build a drop shipping store, went on Shopify. Who's going to be the benefactor if we assume that this is kind of the next drop shipping like trend? Who's going to be the biggest benefactor of creating the agents for the people that go out and implement it into these small businesses?
Interesting. What do you mean when you say benefactor though? Like what like tell me what you mean, because obviously there is a huge dropship opportunity. Someone who's completely 000 code could, comment agent in the comments, and then I'll contact you, and then I'll hook you up with an agent for $500, and then that agent can help you reach out and go do lists. Like, that's a cool business model. I don't know how long it will survive. I think it's getting so easy. Like, if you think about what the dude from OpenClaw, Peter Stein, I can't remember his surname.
Peter Stein.
If you think about what he said when he signed with OpenAI, it was that OpenClaw will remain open source, and the community will become a foundation. I'm really pleased about that, and I will continue to use it because I absolutely love it. But he's now going to OpenAI to go create the product that his mum can use, or that the little old lady down the street can use because she wants a companion to talk to about how to look after a dog, or how to knit the stitch that she can't get, or whatever it is, right? I don't think that's going to take very long. So I think there is a period here, and that's different, by the way, to implementation in business, because I think that learning curve is a little bit different. But I think when it comes to like individual setup, I don't think that learning curve is going to be very long. But sorry, reposition your question for me, just because I was trying to understand what you meant.
And I feel like we are even seeing that, like Claude kind of seemed to make their own version of OpenClaw, and they've like recently released that. So the question was, in the sense that everyone wanted to get into dropshipping, and Shopify was kind of like the go-to underlying infrastructure that people just used. What's that gonna be when it comes to small business automations? Hey, I want to go reach out to all these businesses around me and just give them a solution. Maybe we have a consultation, and then give them AI solutions for that. Maybe I don't build the AI, maybe I don't build the agent. Where am I going to get those agents I'm going to plug in now to the people that I'm servicing?
Really interesting. There are two answers to this that I think are possible scenarios. One is the benefactor is something like Claude Coworker or something like that, where people point everybody towards one of the open source big granddaddy companies in the space that are already starting to form. Anthropic, OpenAI, there's 2 or 3 more, right? Like, you point them towards that and you go try create the thing you want to create. The alternative is build it yourself, like vibe code it yourself. Like, you could literally, with your AI agent, create a platform that allows other people to go in and feel like they're getting an agent experience when all they're doing is receiving an extension of your agent. Like, right now, via that whole kind of like dropship model, I think there are quite a few naive people that would probably buy into something that wasn't necessarily like a finished model that was ready to go, that was theirs, where they had complete custody of it. I think they would happily like enter a username and a password to be able to go in and just have like a fancy LLM that did a bit more for them.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
I think you could create something like that.
Well, I wish we had more time because I want to dig so deep into this, because I think it's an interesting topic. And thank you so much for coming on. I mean, it's been a very mind-blowing conversation, but just like 2 questions real quick. We have about 2 minutes left in the segment.
Sure.
So 2 quick questions. First, how has tokenization of AmberVibe affected AmberVibe itself, the company, the business, the revenue? How has that helped, or did it not? Thoughts?
It didn't to begin with. It was a real hindrance. I didn't set it up myself. I had no intention of it. But once someone did set it up and assigned it to me, it felt like the best way to do it, because it was as fair a launch from a founder as you can have, because I didn't know it existed until 25 minutes after it had gone live. So, if it had been bundled by anyone, they've now sold, because we've run it up to like 500,000 market cap. It's now all out there, and it belongs to the people who believe in what I've been doing for the last 4 weeks. And I'm very grateful to all of those people. But it was a pain in the ass. And actually, what I would say is, it wasn't until I kind of like shut everything out and got back to making Amber brilliant that we've seen the rise that you've seen since like a week Thursday ago, like the 18th, 19th of February. I spent 6 hours working on Amber on the 17th of February. And then off the back of that, we've seen what we've seen, because her output has driven her success. I said it from the beginning, with Amber, the work is the brand and the brand is the work. And people will she will garner attention by just being a great agent. And that's all I'm committing to do, is turn her into the best agent that can generate the best work, and that can harness the most attention.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, I think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much, Benjamin.
I really
for coming
appreciate you
through.
guys inviting me up. Thank you so much.
We definitely
Fun
have to
discussion.
link in the DMs. Fun discussion. We have to get you back on the show again. I absolutely love
Anytime.
this conversation. But you're crushing it, man.
Thanks,
All
guys.
the best to you as you continue building with AmberVibe.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good one.
All right, guys. Be
Thanks.
easy.
You too. Wow, what an interview. I'm not gonna lie, that one
Yeah.
that kind of blew my mind. I'm definitely
think
booking some time with him
we've-
for sure.
We have talked about the emergence of personal AI use and the automation of small business workflows and how valuable that business can be. But I think today it's really clicked in my mind that not only this is valuable, but this is like, just like we had Forex being so trendy in 2020, just like during that time and before that, we had drop shipping being so trendy. This is, it feels like this is that same sort of fervor for, okay, I can implement agents into your small business. Let's run a console. Let me see where we can do it. I'm going to implement this for you. And again, you have like a large amount of these small businesses with not a lot of time, but they have money and they're willing to just throw money. Hey, get this done. I want to have AI in my business somehow because I hear you guys talking about it, but I'm not quite there when it comes to the savviness of it. Like, I do think this is kind of the next drop shipping or Forex in terms of like side hustle. It gets really popular. But that was a fascinating way to look at it in conversation.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that was I'm definitely booking some time with him. I'm very convicted ever since I saw Mark Cuban's segment on TBPN where he said, the next wave, the next job is AI implementation. How can we implement AI into your business? And I think that's something I'm going to be looking into over the course of this bear market. Hopefully this bear market gives me a little bit more time to get ready. But I think we're coming up on 2:30. We have MetaDAO from Profit here coming on in just a second. I'm not sure if he's in the waiting room.
He's in the waiting room. I'm going to pull him up. Do we want to run through? Because there's been a few things on the MetaDAO side. Maybe you and I can cover some stuff and we'll pull him up to maybe comment real quick. They just dropped a video. I haven't had time to watch it yet, but we can get into that.
I have it pulled up here. Maybe we just watch it real quick and then we pull them up for reactions.
Sure.
All right, here's the so MetaDAO actually just dropped earlier today, Futardio. And it's basically the place for founders who want to go faster. Forget pitching VCs, raised directly from a community that wants to be with you from day one.
This is the permissionless launchpad I think they've been talking about. So there you go.
Yep.
Chill, you can play that.
I'd like to let Macintosh speak for itself.
And I decided to start the company. I had no money.
How do you bring the world closer together? You bring it through electronic data communications.
Why not you? You've got the brains. You can make decisions. You can study the plan. You can change your life. You can grow immensely in the next few years. You can make your dreams come true. You can build a financial wall around your family nothing can get through. You can become healthy. You can become powerful. Why not you?
That is so dope.
That's dope.
Profit, welcome up. How are you, man? Congrats on the release, the big release here today. Welcome to the show, first of all. Good to have you back.
Yeah, good to be here. I know I've been on a few times, so yeah, thanks for having me back. And yeah, good to see you both.
Chill, real quick. Can you Profit hear me? Profit, can you hear me?
I still can't hear Dom.
No.
So yeah.
I'm gonna tell him I'm gonna reset real quick. If that
Got
doesn't
it.
work, maybe we'll have him reset. But we want to cover all this stuff.
We'll let Dom reset here real quick, and then he'll pop back up to sometimes when guests log in from like a certain like browser or something like that, it sometimes messes up with StreamYard. But man, good to have you back. I guess for we've grown quite a bit since you've last come on the show. A lot more viewers from different places like Acid Dash and other places as well. So for the audience that doesn't know you, go ahead and reintroduce yourself. Just a little quick little line about what you're building at MetaDAO, and then we'll take it from there.
Sure, yeah. So I go by Profit online, and I'm the co-founder of MetaDAO. MetaDAO is today, like our primary focus is ownership coins. So that essentially is like the idea that tokens are kind of this cool and valuable thing, right? You get to align a community with your success, and you can do these fun things like even incentivize adoption with airdrops and whatnot, and bootstrap network effects. But tokens have had these really bad problems historically, which is that one, rugs is basically the number one problem with tokens. As in, yeah, like sometimes you participate in a project and then the team just like walks away with it and walks away with the money. And then the other problem is that projects can be successful, but then the team can still walk away from the token and just like not do anything with it, and take all the revenue for themselves. And so, yeah, MetaDAO solves or we at least mitigate those problems with some legal structuring and some treasury mechanisms. So, yeah, that's basically me and MetaDAO.
And real quick, testing. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
I can hear you now, Dom. Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Profit. I'm not sure if you guys covered this, but this is a little different appearance than we're used to.
Yeah. Yeah.
When did you choose to dox? I know you doxed back at Breakpoint, I believe, but anything public since then?
I don't think I've spoken publicly since then, but yeah, before Breakpoint, I would never go on video calls, and now I go on video calls. So it's
Love
great.
it. Well, good looking guy, so no homo. Nonetheless, you guys got some really cool stuff. We had some interesting, before we get into the new permissionless side, I want to talk about the Ranger situation.
You can make your dreams come true. You can build a financial wall.
Sorry. Okay, before we get into the Ranger, let's talk about or permissionless. Let's talk about the Ranger real quick. We saw that there was a vote, and I think MetaDAO actually proposed this potentially. Can you walk us through a bit about that situation and how the Futarchy model is working live in action for us here?
Sure. And yeah, so we didn't propose it. It was a group of Ranger token holders. And yeah, I can't, like, our general counsel is very picky about what I can say. So I'm just going to repeat what he's like allowed me to say, which is basically, yeah, the token holders allege that the Ranger team made material misrepresentations about their business, including about their revenue numbers. And yeah, so based on the seriousness of these allegations, the evidence presented, we proceeded with the raised liquidation proposal. And yeah, so now markets are trading of whether or not it'll pass.
I guess you want to take an unbiased, kind of indifferent stance to this, but this is an example of the Futarchy decision markets working in real time. Can you speak a little bit about more of like how this is leaning into the vision? We saw even a while ago on another Futarchy platform, a team also get liquidated, and there were some concerns around like, hey, we think this can be predatory towards teams, and like, you don't want teams starting and 90 days into their business really just getting off the ground, having to shut down. Can you kind of talk about how the Futarchy model is working in real time here, and maybe some of the feedback you've gotten and what you're seeing?
Yeah. So I don't really want to talk about these specific cases, but in general, like, you've had this situation where historically before an ICO or like before a token launch, teams have been able to say kind of whatever they want and to some extent get away with it. And because yeah, once the money goes into the project, it can't really be clawed back, no matter what happens after that. And I think that has actually like some benefits for founders, like to have complete certainty over your runway. And obviously, like, generally, if you look at venture capital markets, there's not really this. I mean, there are clawbacks. There's like rights of rescission, is what they're called. Like if a company makes material omissions or like misrepresentations, investors actually can get their money back, at least if it's like a U.S. equity round. But yeah, like, I think that internet capital markets are like this weird world we have with tokens, where you don't really ever interact with the team in person. like there's a lot of information asymmetry. Like it feels like we kind of need the system of like more rolling capital, I guess we could call it, where like, yeah, funds can be kind of clawed back, either through buybacks, we've seen that in other cases, or in liquidation. And so, yeah.
So you would say this is pretty much an experiment of how the model is supposed to be working in real time.
Yeah, I could potentially say that. I'd have to get back to you.
No worries. Okay, well, let's talk about the permissionless then, because I think that's really the main reason we got you here today. You guys are launching Futardio, which I have pulled up here. Can you tell us a bit about the vision there and what you guys are doing on that front?
Yeah, sure. So MetaDAO, we've built this system of like rug mitigation for people who participate in these ICOs. And then we had it all curated. So like we would pick who raises with MetaDAO. Like we picked Umbra, Avicii, Solomon, Loyal, etc. And we that's kind of cool. Like I think there's a world in which that is the best model, or like is a good model. But we also think it would be kind of cool to like just allow anyone to instantly go on MetaDAO, because yeah, if you think about it, like what's the point of these token holder protections if we can't just let 1,000 flowers bloom? And it could actually be a really interesting product to allow founders to raise really quickly, right? Like today, going through MetaDAO was not that different than raising from VCs, because you've got to convince me and Colin that your business, and we have an investment committee, that your business is interesting and like worth funding. But here, you just have to convince the market. And so you could raise money in like a few hours if you wanted to, and just start building, which is really cool. And I think something that you can't really do in venture capital today. And so, yeah, that's the kind of thesis. And yeah, we went live today.
Have you seen any feedback around people choosing this route over venture capital? Because, like you said, I mean, these people have raised some of people on your platform have raised significant money that would otherwise be very difficult to raise through venture capital. I don't know. What's the feedback looking like?
So I don't think that the products who have raised through the curated path, it would be like, I mean, some of them, most of them, I would say they could raise venture capital. They might be able to raise less, or it might take longer. And yeah, I think the positive feedback is, yeah, it's nice to be able to raise more. I think the biggest benefit today to founders has been like, you can accelerate your business because you now have your users aligned with you, right? Who have like a stake in your success. But it's not a free lunch. I think, yeah, like all these founders are now learning what it means to have a liquid token and what it means to have like people shitting on you in your Telegram and whatnot when when the token goes down. That's just part of being in the arena. And then MetaDAO also has some like specific things around buybacks and liquidations. And so, yeah, it's not a free lunch, but I think to someone who like really wants to just accelerate their growth and to go really fast, especially someone who's crypto native, like I think those people have given us really positive feedback. Like if you take Umbra, for example, like Umbra, great team. I really like Crew. He's like the best designer ever. Like every time I look at those Umbra tweets, I'm like, oh my God, this is beautiful.
Crew rocks.
And I think having a token has just allowed them to be more relevant. Like I'm sure they'd be relevant otherwise, but now like if you have all these people that have a stake in the thing and want to succeed, it just like helps because there's also a bunch of other privacy projects. But it feels like Umbra is kind of becoming the most relevant one. And I think a token is a part of that.
I guess the question I had too was, like, have you seen any demand from, maybe founders that have been thinking about launching but haven't really found a model or a platform or a launch pad that works with what they or how they want it to launch? Like, what's the BD side looking like for Futardio, or are you just kind of letting this just organically reach new founders?
Yeah. We do some outreach with the people in our pipeline, where we're like, the people who would not want to raise as much and that we might be interested in, but just like we think there are some risks with their business that we'd like to get addressed. But it's like with Futardio, yeah, it's kind of buyer beware. Like people should be aware of the risks that they have when they're participating in these. And yeah, but I would say the main thing is just like letting it organically happen. And I mean, it's pretty freaking awesome to me that now a founder can just click a few buttons and like potentially, I mean, obviously we got to prove out the demand side as well, but like potentially just like raise enough money, maybe that's like 500K or a few hundred K in a few hours and just start hitting the ground running.
How are you thinking about these raises? Are you thinking about micro raises? For example, smaller 100K rounds, or is everything you're shooting for going to be 1 million plus?
For Futardio, definitely micro raises. I mean, I believe we only allow between 50K and 500K.
Okay.
And so yeah, and YC is 500K, and that's like a pretty small check for like a venture round. And yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Like, I think a 50K raise, there's a case where I don't know, there's like a founder in the Western world who just needs 50K of tokens to go, like of AI tokens to go build his business, and like doesn't have 50K lying around, and like this is going to be the accelerator for that.
Yeah, no, I think that's completely the way to go, especially in this market. It's been so difficult. Josh has a great question in the comments here. He goes, MetaDAO was the hottest thing in crypto during Avicii last year. How does MetaDAO recapture, I guess, Futardio in this case, recapture some of the magic in this new market? To add to that too, can you just tell us a little bit how you think the market's changed since you guys really originally started launching things like Avicii and some of the earlier projects?
Yeah. So I think, I mean, I've been in crypto for a while, and so these narratives kind of always come and go. I feel like, I mean, how many cycles of narratives has Pump gone through? Like so many. I mean, Pump has died so many times, but it
Right.
still
Yeah.
lives. I mean, it's been the one thing. Like, I think that's also when we were looking at Futardio, it's like, okay, this market for these bigger ICOs is kind of dried up in a sense. Like, I don't think I really understood to what extent the people who are aping MetaDAO ICOs were just aping all the other ICOs, who then got burned on all the other platforms because they all like were down a ton. And but Pump Fund remains. And so like, okay, I can't do an $8 million raise anymore potentially. So like, let's do a 200K raise. Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately what's going to drive people back to the platform is financial returns. And so like the goal is to increase the expected value of participating in these projects on MetaDAO.
A follow-up question to that from Josh as well is some of your thought here to disrupt early stage funnels or something like a YC that is known for their small 500K checks, very, very early stage?
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to compete. I'd rather go against like for a market that isn't served today. Which yeah, like with YC, you still got to apply. You still got to like run through the whole rigmarole. And they still, I think, are biased towards founders that like look and talk a certain way, kind of maybe how I talk. Like, I think I've got the tism that a lot of investors like to see.
They love it.
Yeah. But that are not necessarily like that don't necessarily make someone likely to win. Yeah, so potentially, but like I'm trying to go after new markets.
I love that. You've already got a few people that have committed to launching here. I had it pulled up a second ago. What are the types of people you're seeing most interest from?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, yeah, it's projects that need less money to just and then like to go execute. I think that's the main thing, and just crypto native stuff.
One question that I had was, you've been in crypto for a while, so you've seen the evolution of tokens, right? Like tokens of the past, that really don't give it the token holders anything, no ownership of the business, no upside, to now kind of utility tokens that try to do things like buybacks and stuff like that. I saw you wrote an article about buybacks as well, and I want to get into your thoughts on that part before the interview is over. But for this one specifically, like, where do you see Futardio kind of leading the next generation of tokens, let's call it. I mean, we've been trying to figure this thing out about how to give tokens value. How do you think that the Futardio platform does that?
Yeah. Can I actually just talk about buybacks quickly? Because I think I
Yes,
have a
please.
take. Okay,
Please.
cool.
I really want to get your take on that.
Yeah. So lots of people in on crypto Twitter have had big takes on buybacks, and I basically think that they're all kind of wrong. I mean, I would put people in kind of two camps. One is like buybacks good, and that without buybacks, you can't really trust that the team is going to align the token with the business, and it just makes sense. Like these are tokens. The goal is to make money, so return some of that money to the token holders. Hyperliquid, Pump Fun, like these are the great case studies. And then there's another camp, which is like, no, buybacks are stupid. You should just be reinvesting in the business. Like these are all startups. Maybe Hyperliquid should go spend $800 million on marketing instead. And I think that like, I understand why both of these people have their these takes, but also just like we don't really like you can just understand the basics of finance and how it works, and you can very easily see like buybacks basically can make sense irrespective of stage, just depending on price, right? Like uh when we're trading, our goal is to buy low and sell high. Buybacks are just trading, and so again, it's all going to depend, and like pretty much any asset, it can make sense to buy or sell depending on the price. And so with buybacks, again, it like just completely depends on the price. So I think I have an example in my article about, yeah, say you have a project that, or like a company that is worth $10 million. And if it can buy back its stock at like a $5 million market cap, then you accrete value to all the remaining people who hold, and you allow some people to exit. Meanwhile, what you've had in crypto is mostly like people thinking bass backwards and saying, hey, we're going to do buybacks when the market rewards them, like when the market is strong. Like buybacks happen in bull markets, and then you're getting the worst trade execution. So you have the least accretion. You're just like, that's when you're kind of throwing away money. And yeah, I think it's kind of silly. Like when teams are like, "Hey, the market is showing that it doesn't care about buybacks, like it's not pumping the token." When you're buying a token, you don't want to pump the token. Like you want to get the best execution price. I think Pump Fun, like I have this idea that Pump Fun may actually like really know what they're doing. Of just like they're just buying a bunch right now when the price is low, and not really like pumping the token a ton. And then yeah, they can get a lot out of supply and like accrete value to the rest of the holders.
So when someone thinks about buybacks, Josh had a really good question. I was thinking the same. Is it buybacks for OTC, for marketing? Is it a buyback and burn? Like, what about that side of the equation? What are you using the buying the tokens for?
Yeah, buyback and burn is like how I think about it. I think buying back tokens to then allocate those tokens to somewhere else is silly because at least on MetaDAO we have mintable tokens anyway, and so it's just like a status quo. That's just like what is the term? It's like a bias, or it's irrational to say like we're going to buy back tokens to allocate them when these are two separate things, like whether to allocate and whether to buy back. Just like a psychological thing. So yeah.
Fascinating. Crypto Jones had a question here. Have you considered bringing all these great products in the MetaDAO eco under one umbrella, a MetaDAO app where we can easily access all these financial tools and participate on the Futarki system?
Yeah, we originally were thinking of doing this like accelerated or permissionless path within MetaDAO's main app, and we decided against it for a bunch of reasons. But yeah, basically we've considered it, and if this is a smashing success, then we could still potentially do that, and integrate everything.
Can I ask one more question on buybacks here? At
Yeah.
what point does it get dangerous when a token's trading how much below the net asset value before it gets dangerous that people are going to start, or traders sort of form this coup, if you will, where they buy supply, raise a vote to liquidate the treasury so they can get the little bit of arbitrage margins? At what point does it get dangerous when a token goes below nav?
Yeah, I think we're finding that out as we go. I mean, Solomon right now is trading at a pretty substantial discount to NAV. I haven't really heard people that want to like. I think most people who hold Solomon want to do some buybacks, but they don't want to liquidate the treasury. And we've talked before about like the rules we have of like when someone can buy back versus liquidation. Yeah, so I guess I don't know is the real answer. Like we'll figure it out as we go.
Do you find that maybe like would it be a good idea to or a thought to consider to maybe say you have to hold for this long before you can, just raise a vote or raise create a market on whether to liquidate? Like, is that a thought that's going through you guys' head?
I've never thought about that particularly, but we are thinking a ton about like how do we make it harder, or like really what we want to solve is we want to make founders more certain over their runway. And actually, I think there's other better ways to solve that. The number one is bringing in more sticky capital to the ecosystem. So me and my co-founders spend a ton of time pitching ownership coins to liquid funds, because I think they are more sticky capital than like the median retail trader, who is kind of just like buying high, selling low, like buying when price has gone up, selling when price has gone down, so that we have less of this. But yeah, like I'm essentially, yeah.
And how have those conversations been going? I know at one point, I'm not sure if it was Pantera or if it was Six Man Ventures, but you guys had a VC that you guys basically bought MetaDAO on an open market, and I saw that there was a proposal about that at some point. So there is some appetite there for ownership tokens. How have those conversations been going with those VCs?
Yeah, I mean, most of them that we talk to are like, "Oh wow, this is really interesting. I've been meaning to take a look at this. I just haven't yet." And so overall, good. I mean, right now there's already like 5 liquid funds and VCs that are pretty active, I'd say. I mean, all the ownership coins that I'm aware of have at least one liquid fund or venture owner. But I want to enlarge that. I want to increase that number from like 5 to 30. Yeah, it seems like we're on the path to get there.
Nice. What's the biggest part of moving that needle? Is it just kind of just reaching out, meetings, in chats with them, or is there something else that's that you guys are doing?
No, it is, yeah, literally that. Just like
Yeah.
hopping on Zoom with people and explaining to them how the system works and why you should be bullish.
That's awesome. I know Dom.
We
you had a
saw,
question.
yeah, a question about this Pine Analytics article. They do great work, by the way. So I'm glad to see that they came out with an article for you guys. But can you maybe walk us through some high level, the Q4 2025 quarterly report that was just put out here by Pine Analytics? Have you had a chance to read into this?
I actually haven't had the chance to read it yet. No.
Oh, okay. Well then, I mean, we can skim through it real quick, but I guess you have nothing to say on it. Have you? I guess in general, how have you seen this quarter play out in terms of how you expected it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was an inflection point for MetaDAO. I don't think we made money before Q4 2025. So yeah, I mean, and it was the time when a lot of people started finding out about MetaDAO. Yeah, and now we just gotta like go faster. I think when we originally kind of like popped off, so to speak, or like people started finding out about MetaDAO, it was great and stressful because then it made the stakes higher, which I think is why it took us longer than I wanted to ship Vitardia, like to ship for permissionless. And now we're just saying like, now I think we take the approach of like, that's why we're sandboxing Vitardio and like a separate thing so that we can just experiment and go fast without having one potential failure, like bringing down the whole system.
I know you guys are mainly focused on the permissionless side right now. How are you guys thinking about curated? I remember reading a tweet from yours at one point that said like you had spoke with a team that you really wanted to work with, that you were really bullish on, just the founder themselves, maybe not talking about the token, but just saying how you were really excited about that team. Any other curated projects coming up?
Yes, we are still focused on curated. We just now have a different process where like we send teams to we kind of like run a book process where we send teams to liquid funds first and get their sense of demand before we take them to market. But yes, that is still going on.
One thing
And
I love about you, Prophet, is you're very, I think, self-reflective, and you do a really good job of reflecting, and you're very humble in terms of like seeing what needs to be fixed. What are some of your takeaways from the Hero Pay launch recently, or the Hero Pay raise recently? Curious to know what you learned from that, and maybe how you think about it.
Sure. So yeah, Harupe didn't raise what I thought they'd raise, and um, and I think Harupe is like a really solid team, and they should have raised basically. Um, and so my analysis is that it was kind of a perfect storm of some things that were unrelated to MetaDAO and some things that were related to MetaDAO. So number one was like it really was probably the worst time to do this in like the last few years
Yeah.
in terms of sentiment and in terms of price action on like Bitcoin and more importantly alts. Like if you look at a lot of alts of just like these DeFi projects, they're down like 90% just over the last few months.
Yeah.
Like if you look at like the Radium chart, for example. And yeah, so that's one thing. The other thing is just like ICOs in particular have gotten smoked. And yeah, I think I said earlier, like people who I don't think I fully understood the extent to which people participating on MetaDAO were just kind of participating in a broader ICO meta. Um, and returns on all the platforms other than MetaDAO, I believe, have been minus EV, as in like for every dollar you put in, you get less than $1 of tokens. Like to now, on MetaDAO, it's still been positive, which is kind of cool despite the huge correction. Um, and then yeah, and then I think it was MetaDAO related stuff. So just like I don't think I fully understood to the extent to which recent raises and their performance, like whether people see the recent stuff doing well, decides whether or not they participate and like how much hype there is around the ecosystem. Um, and I also think that there were some people who were unsure of ownership coin protection. So we had to block two proposals, which like you can read through why we had to do those, and I think it's like really reasonable. It wasn't like we were really rugging anyone, but I operate in crypto, and most teams in crypto, like there have been so many rugs that they can't just take my word for that. And I think it's totally reasonable for people to be like, oh, these guys might be rugging. I don't want to participate in the next thing because I don't know what protections I've got here. Like there are some people that were thought like, oh, we're just like not gonna honor these proposal system and just let the team walk away with the treasury and do whatever they want. And so yeah, we have to fix that. And then there were also a lot of people who didn't like uncapped. Sorry, I know I'm kind of monologuing here, but
This is
all I
good.
was to
Thank you.
say, it's a perfect storm, and we're fixing the stuff that we can fix. Like right now on Futardio, there's no more uncapped. It's all capped. It's even more capped than previous, where like you know exactly the amount that's going to be raised and you know the exact valuation before you participate. Yeah.
I think that that last piece is very important. I personally was in the camp that like if something was uncapped, I wasn't depositing until last minute just so I could get a good idea of where we were going to launch in terms of FDV. And then maybe if the uncapped hit too high, I was like, okay, I'll wait for secondary market. And then you added the interesting mechanisms around buyback wall for HeroPay, which we didn't get to really see in action. But I am a proponent of the capped raises. So question here from Josh again. Why do people not like uncapped versus capped? Do you have a simple answer for that?
Yeah, people want to know the valuation of like I mean there are some ideas that make a ton of sense at like a 500K valuation or like a $10 million valuation, but don't make sense at like a $1 billion valuation, and uncapped could be whatever the market decides. And so yeah.
Nice. No, absolutely. Question for the Futardio platform. There's a lot of permissionless platforms out there to launch. Why are people going to choose Futardio over, say, any of the other ones out there?
Yeah, so from the founder perspective, I think and I hope that they'll be able to raise more, and they will be able to truly align their community because of the structure, and that also I think is attracting like the longer term participants, right? Like there are not liquid fund. I mean, there are not really like venture funds like aping shitters on Pump Fund or even in the Believe trenches. Uh, there are funds who hold for significant time periods that are looking at these coins on MetaDAO, and I think some of that will carry over to Futardio. And so yeah, but I would the main thing would just be raise more. I think probably is what we encapsulate it as.
And what's this going to look
Got it.
like? I'm going to try to pull up a platform here. Yeah, it looks like I'm on it. What is this going to look like? Same thing, just connect your wallet. What's up? Chill.
No, I was gonna tell you that I got it pulled up, but you have it. You can go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what does this look like? So it looks like the raises are a bit shorter here in this case. Can you tell us the key differences in terms of raising?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just shorter, smaller amounts. It's the same underlying system that now MetaDAO will use, except for the big difference from what we've previously done is commitments. So now we're back to cap system, and so there's a question of like, okay, if something is oversubscribed, how do you determine who gets allocation? And we don't like first come first serve, snipers being the main issue with that. So, but we also like, I think it's nice to potentially to like not just have a bunch of people commit like the last second, and people not really be sure of like how much demand there is for the thing. And so we've made it so that earlier commits do have preference, but they're not, but like no matter where you commit, you still can get some. It's just like the earlier commit, the more like you are to get filled.
Got it. Now I really love the look of the new platform. And I'm seeing
Thanks. We tried to marry Pump Fund and MetaDAO, and that's kind of
No, I think you guys honestly are onto something really, really big. I've been saying it, I mean, for months now, and I believe you even said it at one point, Profit. But when you change the incentive for holders, you kind of change the whole feel of the market. And if you now you're kind of more so aligning long term capital that, or at least whatever long term capital we have left on chain, but then also kind of on the broader side, on the longer term side, you're also introducing that possibility of like, venture getting involved, because essentially that's what potentially could happen with some of these, right? Like they raise, and perhaps if at some point, they rise to become like let's just call it like an Avicii level, quote unquote, project where, it's viewed as being something that's really, really nice by the market. I mean, it could potentially, attract some investment from, a much different, demographic of capital. So, and I really love the platform, really love Futardio, and I love what you guys are doing, man. So, hats off to you.
Yeah, thanks so
Quick
much.
question.
And yeah.
So
From
Josh had a
again,
question. Yeah, go ahead.
any thoughts on invite only raises? We're seeing a couple people try to do this and add scores to like holders and give basically the founders more power over who they choose, more like angel investors. What are your thoughts on invite only raises?
Yeah, I am in general, I'm bullish on this idea. We obviously have talked more about like doing an ownership coins or like an ownership score, where depending on how much you hold of the ownership coins over time, you get higher preference to participate in future raises. This is also kind of what IPOs do. Like, if you talk to the people who determine IPO allocations, they're generally trying to put it like they'll actually say the words like steady hands or something like that. Like some of this fucking crypto jargon that we use, like diamond hands. They won't say those exact words, but they'll say something along the lines of that. Like they try to put it in the hands of like mutual funds and people that are going to hold for a longer time, as opposed to hedge funds who are kind of quick traders. And yeah, so that could make sense. And then allowing founders. So we've already on the curated side made it so that founders can allocate to people, which allows them to go through this process with liquid funds where they like basically can guarantee some allocation. Because yeah, we had this issue of like a liquid fund is like, hey, in order to participate in this pro rata cap raise, I'm gonna have to liquidate all my tokens just to get the USDC and then ape them back into the tokens I was holding. And Yeah, the main issue, as I'm sure you guys are both aware, is like it can lead to pump and dump games more commonly than like the other systems. Like, yeah, basically the failure mode is you just have someone allocate everything to their buddies and then pump it up and then sell on retail.
Yeah. I think I've covered pretty much everything I really had in mind. I'll run through a few questions in the chat if you could answer those for us, Prophet, and then
Sure.
you can leave us off with whatever you want to. But Sloppy Joe said, "How does MetaDAO earn revenue from Futardio launches, fees, Futark AMM, 0.5%, or other things too?"
Yep. We take the same fees as we do on the curated projects. Yeah, it's Futark AMM 50 bips. And yeah, that's all today.
Okay, sweet. Crypto Jones, any thoughts on capping the percentage that can be acquired during a raise? I guess for the micro raises, this could be an issue. I guess if someone throws 100K at a 250K cap.
Yeah. It'd be interesting. I mean, I don't have any thoughts yet. I think we'll have to see this in action as being a problem before we like address it. In general, I will say like I mean there are a lot of people who with the early raises were like, "Oh, this is a whales game, like you're not preferencing the small holders." And like kind of what I responded to them is like, "Hey, this is not communism, right? Like the people who have more money and are committing more money are actually contributing more capital and allowing them to go further. And so we're not going to like we don't hate those people and we're not going to preference against them. It's much more about like we're much more in the game of equal access. So like anyone can participate and anyone can have access to the returns as opposed to just like you're going to get some preference because you're a smaller fish. And so yeah, but I'm not like ideological about any of these things. It's more just like practical of like what makes sense for our users, and yeah, happy to adapt based on what we see.
Okay, sweet.
Awesome.
I think that really covers it. Maybe leave us with this. What are you most excited for on the Futardio side, and what are you guys looking forward to as a team over at MetaDAO?
Yeah, I think I'm most excited for the stuff that I don't even know exists today. I mean, we're essentially like we're opening we now have a place where like anyone with an internet connection and the ability to compel people can raise money, or anyone or anything like agents could potentially use this as well, which is something that a bunch of people have talked to me about. But yeah, I'm just excited to like see the behavior play out. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of slop, right? There's gonna be a lot of stuff that launches that's like very scammy looking, or just like not that interesting. And I'm excited for just like,
Sure.
yeah, the whole process of evolution and like, yeah, the market to kind of select who gets to play the game. Yeah,
Okay, and I got one question on the terms of the market selecting
sure.
who plays the game question. You see kind of an emergence of like BankerBot, of bags, the claim your fee bro sort of launch pads where it's like, hey, we launch a token, adapt it, claim the fees, and like, adopt the token as your own. Have you thought of a claim the fees sort of model for, hey, this guy's got a cool idea. Look, we just raised 100K. If you sign over some IP rights, go through the process, you have a token now, and here's 100K. Is that like something you guys have thought about?
Yeah, I've thought about it, and I think that would be quite interesting. And you could do that right now on Futardio. Like you could see some, like maybe there's an AI dev who does some open source work that you're like, hey, this is really interesting. You see it on Twitter. Okay, let me go create this launch. I'll tell everyone like we haven't got them on board yet, but like you can commit to this, and then we're gonna go tell them, and then you go tell them, and hey, there's 200K ready for you to go ship. I think that could be quite compelling as well.
Mm.
Interesting.
What's the cost here? Is it just, okay, well, I'm gonna have my money locked up for 2 days. If he says no,
Yeah.
but then I get it back?
Main cost would be because yeah, we don't take fees on committing money, only on trading. So it would basically be the time value of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the opportunity cost is so small for the potential for these guys to get a piece in these guys' businesses that you have the claim your fees, bro, like structure on. That's super interesting.
Yeah,
Chill, you
you do have. There is some adverse selection as well. Like if they were really like maybe you could say if they're a generational founder, they would have come to this themselves. Like they don't need people like going and showing them what to do. That's obviously like there's these platforms like Open Door that just like offer you money for your house and you can instantly take it. And the problem they've had is like the people who sell them houses are like generally not selling them houses of good worth. Like they've had this problem with overpaying. And yeah, but it's like a really interesting thing, and I think it definitely could work. And it would be a lot cooler than like hey, claim the fees so that you like legitimize this meme coin that actually still has no tie to the actual thing and is just going to go to zero, like
Yeah.
we've seen again and again and again.
Yeah, well, I mean, I also think in part, I'll play the devil's advocate here. I think in part it's just like ignorance in general that people even know that there is another funding mechanism out there, and like tokenizing isn't always a bad thing, and like crypto's not all just scammers and grifters, and you can actually have opportunity there if you know about it. And I think it's a bit of an ignorance thing, and so when people are presented with this and they see, okay, wait a minute, I could actually have a meaningful business and turn my dream into a reality here. Like I do think there's a lot more opportunistic thoughts in that aspect, but cool.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting to see.
I mean, here it would be, instead of saying claim the fees, you would say assign the IP, right? It's like, okay, to be the leader of this thing, you got to give up the IP, so you can't just like rug us if it goes well.
Right.
Is this possible to do with open source? Can you give away IP for something that's kind of community owned?
No, yeah. For open source, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding is no. But like for domain names, or if they build a website, or anything else, and also software that's like open but not like specifically with an open source license, it potentially is allowed. Yeah.
Got it. I mean, there's so many things that can be done with this platform. It's really cool. Really love what you guys are building here with the new permissionless launchpad. Honestly, personally, I'll be stalking it for a while, so I'll definitely be keeping tabs on it. But Prophet, I really appreciate you pulling through today. It's been an awesome conversation. Crypto Jones puts it really well. Thank you for your service, MetaDAO. It's helping make crypto great again, and it absolutely is. I gotta
much
say,
winning.
so so much winning.
Gonna get tired of winning.
Thank you, Crypto
All right.
Jones, and thank you guys both for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Till next time. Appreciate you coming through. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Cheers.
See you.
Take care.
Banger updates.
Dude,
banger updates.
I think MetaDAO just cracked the code. I'm not even.
I want to see him tap. Dude, I want to see that model in action. I would be, look, if anyone has a good product that's out there that they're going to banker coin or they're going to do any of that stuff, tag me in it. I will commit to that raise. Like, I want to see this theory or thesis kind of play out in real time, just like purely from an experimental standpoint. It's all fun and games till someone comes up to you and says, okay, here's $100K to fund your idea. We get 40%, you get 60%, linearly unlocked based on market cap milestones. Man, people start, look, you'd be surprised. Someone hates crypto now. If you offered him up 100, 200K to go and build out his dreams and give away a percentage of the company, something that he wouldn't have been able to do otherwise, bro. Things like people get interested in that kind of stuff.
The way I look at it is you have a handshake agreement between holders and team. That's essentially what we've had this entire time. Now, beyond that, you have certain models that now make sure that teams are accountable for what they're doing with the token and with the business, and then that model also makes sure that there's upside for holders. I think the old way is gone. Handshake agreements with teams are gone. They're out of the window. We need something better. The market, they're still buying these stupid utility projects. Some of them like with no upside to the business. They all just kind of die off. So the market is still buying it. They haven't really woken up just yet. But that is all, to me, dead and gone. We need something new. We need something fresh, something with accountability, safeguards, holder protections. And I think that's what we have with this permissionless platform. Essentially, this is a launch. I mean, not essentially, it's a launch pad with Futardio built in. So now we have the best of both worlds. We have the low cap kind of, micro cap in terms of like we can get potential good gains on it, but it's has some sort of like safeguard, some sort of protection for holders. So that's what I really like. Salmon, GG's in the chat. What's up, brother?
Jeez, good luck on the Rays. Good luck
Good
on the
luck
Rays.
on the
Maybe
Rays.
Let's give you a quick look. See how you guys are doing. Got this article released here. We'll have to read into it. Where can we go and see the Rays? I was just there. We go.
I can share my screen. I got the Rays up right here.
Sweet.
Let me boom. Let me hit the share screen. So here's the Futardio platform. Let me zoom in so you guys can actually see this. So here is the Futardio platform. At the top, you have like some of these raises that are going on, stuff like that are live. And down here we have Salmon Wallet. Let's see what it is. Open source wallet governed by outcomes, not narratives. So like that. Let me see.
So it's an open source wallet.
Yeah.
How does this work? Governed by outcomes.
Developed primarily on Solana, extended to Bitcoin, offers unified platforms with no hidden fees or intermediaries. SAL token enables collective decision-making through Futarchy. Funds are safeguarded by market-based governance. So they have everyone knows exactly what they pay. No hidden fees, no surprises. Fees are decided by the community. Project remains faithful to OG crypto ethos. Okay, so it's basically like a fully transparent, like open source wallet that isn't that has like no like hidden fees or anything. Everything is fully transparent. Sounds good. Well, look, I hope you guys do well on your race. Wishing you guys all the best. For me, like I'm gonna be playing I'm gonna be playing this launchpad the same way I've played MetaDAO itself. I'll probably just wait for the raise to finish, and then I'll just monitor price action afterward. And who knows? I forget the schedule as far as like when these things unlock and whatnot, but like when the if you bidded the raise, you know, like when do you see that? Like, is it immediately after, or is there percentage on launch and then it's linearly vested? I have to see that part, but I still think like legit. I still think MetaDAO has cracked the code, bro. Like I really feel that. I mean, it might take the market some time to pick up on that fact, but we literally have now. You can be a utility project, and MetaDAO has now given you a way to permissionlessly launch, raise, and it still be good for the community.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited to see the claim fees bros try this out. Like, I want to see something really cool. I want to go raise 100K for somebody and then see them come and claim it and have a live token. I think, like, I need that experiment to happen. Keep a lookout, guys. Anything you see people trying to bankerize, I want to see you guys make a coin on Futardio and create the raise for them. I think that'd be sick.
Yeah, this is ooh, actually, look at this take here. From the Chad Lezebre. One of the new homies that I added to the Chad's list as well, but he's had like really, really great takes on the whole like AI agent, the whole
Radio
AI
Friday.
agent. Low key. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can get him on. But he says, I strongly feel like this is the missing piece of the AI agent stack. Proper ownership rights for holders plus Futarchy governance. Would love to see a collab between BankerBot, ClaunchBot, and MetaDAO to enable this.
That would be pretty cool.
Absolutely. That would be. Oh, look at that. Claunch responded. Cool idea. We'll get in touch with the team. I like that.
Yep, good take. Really good take. Crypto Jones sounds like a nasty cough, Tom. 1,000 IU vitamin D for the next week, homie.
Well,
on it, bro.
I think this is probably a good place to call it. Not much happening in the market right now. We'll monitor MetaDAO launches, some of these permissionless raises. If anything good comes across the desk, I'll let you guys know. Prices aren't really doing much, you know, ranging. Bitcoin still trying to figure out if it's going up or down. Quick little thing on Bitcoin. I'm probably targeting a short on Bitcoin. I'm looking for us to go like here and then just nuke to the floor. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for here on Bitcoin. Essentially just going up, kind of wicking up to this level here, and then nuking. So I'll probably target a short, and I'll be doing that on Trojan as well. So if you guys want to get access to that, hit the MCG bio. The link in bio is there, and there's a QR code bottom left of the screen.
I
You
actually
get
think
45% cash back on trades.
Sorry, man, you were going. I just ripped right into it. I actually think I'm going to counter trade you on that. I think if we get a solid close above that range with a solid candle, I think the bottom's pretty much been in. I would probably look for a test back into the range, and I'm probably long Bitcoin. And maybe
Really?
some Solana. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how this plays out. Let's see.
Yeah, there
Let's
we
see
go.
how this goes.
Got both sides. You can trade
Um,
both sides on Trojan. So
yeah, you can play both sides.
Um,
So appreciate you guys for coming to today's stream, man. I mean, it's been great. So I'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow, another banger stream. Let me just pull up our schedule for tomorrow so we can go through that a little bit here.
And before you do that, I just want to read through this quick update because I think we've been talking about this on the channel
Yeah.
for quite some time. It's really nice to see. And Spill, the Trojan or the Dreams episode is on YouTube. You're gonna have to scroll back a little bit. We've started to add the profile pictures of the other guests to the videos to make it easier to find, but the Dreams one is in there. So good luck finding it. But I saw this. I wanted to just touch on it because Soulflare dropped a really, really interesting update here. And it's a privacy aggregator layer, or PAL. It's a new standard for Solana. Soulflare is the first wallet with a natively built-in privacy layer. And I think we've been talking about this quite a bit on the stream. We see Umbra. We have these conversations with Umbra for MetaDAO. And like the question is, okay, how could we get this privacy integrated at the wallet level? You know, I don't want to go through Umbra. I don't want to go through a third party. You know, if we can integrate Umbra or these privacy layers directly into the wallet, I just want to have everything encrypted and private from the jump, right? Rather than taking my money, sending it here, now transacting on a different platform. I just want it to be in that base layer. Soulflare is kind of doing that here with this new update that they pushed out, their privacy aggregator layer. The first feature, privately send app plus extension, lets you send crypto without revealing your wallet to any recipient. Optimal per transfer, built-in send, fees shown before you confirm, process within a minute. Here's how it works. I'm not going to watch the video, but again, I think the privacy layer and a lot more than that, like the DeFi layer in general, should be at the wallet level. So it's pretty cool to see that they're making moves in this direction. So shout out Soulflare. Yeah, but we'll wrap it on that. You want to tell us about the rest of the week, Chill?
Yeah, absolutely. And for whoever was looking for the Dreams link, it's February 3rd was the date, just in case, but you can go back through.
Banger.
I can go back through the stream notes. I'm actually looking at them right now, but here is the weekly schedule. So great interview today with Stable, RWA mortgage-backed stable coin yield to basically pay off the principal on your mortgage. I think is really nice. We went through Blasket, basically a new launch pad that is more focused on open source projects, kind of getting the community, not just one dev to work on something, but get a whole community of people rallying around an idea. So that was an interesting interview. We had AmberVibe on. Of course, that was interesting. Honestly, I want to get him back on and talk a little bit more, but I'll be, I kind of want to, I actually do want to like buy some time with him. I'm not going to lie. And then we had Profit on as well from MetaDAO, and we had some new updates on the Futardio permissionless platform.
Banger stream.
And yeah, so literally today was a solid lineup. I'm not even gonna lie. Today was a solid lineup of projects. Hopefully you guys hope you guys enjoyed that. And Josh, I can send you the link to the stream notes, I think is what you wanted. The link to the stream notes. But anywho, hope you guys enjoy the show today. Appreciate you guys for joining us. Tomorrow we have Dexter on, as well as Set Infra. Dexter is an X402 protocol, and Set Infra is basically a trust and AI, or a trust and identity layer for AI. Thursday we have the Meteora ecosystem, some updates there with Bedrock from KK and Vesper, and then on Friday we have MCG Trader Radio. So we're looking to get some traders on there for for Friday. So look, appreciate you guys for joining us on the stream today. It's been an absolutely amazing lineup. A lot of good information for you guys as well. We'll be back tomorrow with more alpha on MCG.
Banger. Great stream. Thanks for joining, guys. Real quick, I saw this tweet, wanted to cover it because I think it's pretty cool. We say that digital gold, this is Bitcoin digital gold, but we haven't really seen that reflect in price. This is an interesting report here. Justin, Iranians are buying Bitcoin and mass withdrawing into self-custody amid the war. Bitcoin is the flight to safety.
No way. Are you serious?
Really interesting. I mean, think about it, bro. If you're in Iran and you want to make sure your wealth is preserved, I could see a world where you buy a bunch of Bitcoin and wherever you end up, you can withdraw that Bitcoin into the native currency. And it makes sense. It makes sense as like okay, things are hitting the fan. I can't go and just buy a shit ton of gold with all my wealth right now, liquid, and be able to sell it whenever I am able to like be free. So really crazy to see this. But
Proof
like,
of concept right there for Bitcoin.
Yeah. All right. On that, boys, we'll call it. Shout out real quick to our sponsors. Shout out Moby. They're the ones that keep this thing going. We love their Meteora. Wow. Run it back. Resetting. Thank you guys to our sponsors. Shout out Meteora, of course. They power a lot of the infrastructure, a lot of the technology, a lot of the launch pads that we see that we had on today. Actually, a few of them that we had on today. Shout out to Orgo, of course. We love what they're doing in terms of AI and building basically these virtual machines for AI so they can have their own workspace. Shout out to Trojan for being the trading terminal that supports MCG. And you can get lots of cash back, 40% cash back using Trojan. You can trade with us. It supports the show. So we appreciate all of our sponsors that help bring the show to you every single day. Guys, till next time. Peace.
Peace.